Bat Family, and welcome back to this surprise episode of Holy BatCast, brought to you by real fans for real movies. Make sure you visit our website, holybatcast.com. You can also find us all over social media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube. Search for Holy BatCast, you will find us. If you love the show, you want to help support us, you can do that on Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/holybatcast, and like I said on the last episode, we had some patrons that got stuck in the spam folder, and so I feel terrible. I hope you know I've lost sleep. I feel guilt, so I got to give a shout out to a couple other patrons. The first one is just Kenny. Just one word, Kenny. Just like Cher and Madonna. Maybe it's Kenny from South Park, but Kenny, thank you. I don't have your last name, but thank you anyway. You're awesome. Love it. And then we also have Kevin Luna. So Kenny and Kevin, you guys are awesome. You're the dynamic duo this week. Big shout out, big high fives, and even hugs. I give bat hugs. I hope that's okay. Thank you guys. You're awesome. Really do appreciate that. And again, all our patrons are amazing. You guys make our lives so much easier. And I just got to give a big old thank you. So thank you to all you guys. Go to patreon.com/holybatcast. We're part of the Real Fans Podcast Network. You can check out all those shows at rf4rm.com. And as always, I'm Andy DiGenova. You can follow me on Twitter or on Instagram. It's just my name, Andy DiGenova. In this episode, we're going to talk a little box office for funsies because the Batman is out there making some money, and we just want to talk about what that looks like because if you remember, on our ranking episodes, I get a little excited about numbers. Jamie was just giving me a hard time about it before I hit record. I don't know, there's this part of me that likes math. Maybe I'm a nerd. But don't tell anyone, it'll be our little secret. So we're going to talk about that, but mostly what we have to do, because I also warned you guys on the last episode, is there's so many emails. The Wayne Manor Mailbox has been busting at the seams for weeks now, and I gotta clean that MFer out. So joining me for that is my pal Jamie. He's back. He's sober. I think he's recovered from his late St. Patty's Day party, Jamie. Was it fun? Did you go well?
It was a good time. Carl Landmeyer, friend of the group, friend of mine since high school.
Oh, Carl! Yeah.
We went out drinking before the party. So I actually didn't even drink that much at the party. But Carl, he's like Roman's brother-in-law, Andrew Watt. You can't come away with a clean liver. You can't.
Oh, my God. Well, that's cool.
I haven't seen him for a couple of years. We live like 5 miles apart. I haven't seen him for a couple of years. Sad state of affairs. And we just happened to randomly text each other, and we're like, hey, we don't live that far apart. Man, let's go get some lunch and catch up. And lunch turned into a 3-brewery tour.
So, that sounds fun. I want to come.
Good time, man. Good beverages were had and a lot of fun. And he and I decided that we need to do that more often, although my liver's like, no mas, por favor.
It needs a little break. Well, good. Thanks for jumping on for the little bonus episode. Now, on the last episode, it was me and Brendan, our pal Joe. We talked about Batmobile chases, and I said, the next one is going to be this one that Jamie and I recorded a while back about 1982's Swamp Thing. So that will be next. That will be coming next, but I just wanted to clean out the damn mailbox. So that's why you guys are getting a little bonus episode this week. So Swamp Thing is coming, but I also thought this was a good time for me to give a second shout out to rewatch Swamp Thing in preparation for that because, it's probably not one that maybe is in regular rotation. It's a good time to refresh your memory, but that one is coming soon. Before we get to all the other stuff, though, I got to give a shout out to manscaped.com. Our sponsors, our friends, they make sure we smell good and we are freshly shorn at all times. A couple of our listeners just made their purchases. I saw that. They shared on social media, which I respect the bravery and the commitment. As they're like, you know what? I did it. Pulled the trigger. So good for you guys for going to manscaped.com. And thank you for using Batscaped. That means the world to us. Because manscaped.com, not only do they have that awesome package with the trimmers and the deodorant and the toner and all that good stuff, the boxers, the t-shirt, they have now the ultra premium collection for the rest of your body. So not only are you going to trim up and deodorize your bathing suit parts, your private parts, you also can keep nice and clean and fresh the rest of you. So the ultra premium collection includes deodorant, body wash, 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner, hydrating body spray, and then also a free set of Manscaped lip balm. So if you are getting into that Manscaped grooming habits, which I am, I just like being able to get all my stuff at one place, and to have it delivered. I don't even have to go to the store. That's awesome. And I get 20% off using Batscaped. What's not to like? So all good stuff. Give it a shot. If you haven't gotten the premium, the lawn care package, get that first because it's awesome. But if you're looking to branch out and try out some of this other stuff, the deodorant and the body wash and the shampoo, go and try out the ultra premium collection. Again, manscaped.com. Use that promo code BATSCAPED, BATSCAPED, for 20% off and free shipping. It's a way to get something for you, but also to help us in the process. And we are so appreciative of those of you who've already done it. You guys are amazing. Love it. Joe Forno did it. Again, quite a few of you guys, and we love it. And so if you haven't done it yet and you're still like, oh, maybe, treat yourself. You're worth it. I'm telling you right now. If you need to hear it, you're worth it. You deserve to feel fresh and clean, and your partner deserves it too. So, yeah, go check it out, manscaped.com. And again, use Batscaped. It is quick, and it is easy, and it is a great way to support our show and to support yourself. So, good stuff there.
Things you can always count on us to advocate for: equality, mental health, personal upkeep.
Right? I know. We talk about it all. I love the messages we get. We're like, I like talk about Batman, talk about mental health. Now we're talking about manscaping. All important things. We're all friends here. We're committed. We want to make sure everybody's happy every possible way. And this is just another way to do that.
So I also want to just branch out because I just did this yesterday because I didn't realize I wasn't already following Manscaped on Twitter. And I started following them, and it's hysterical. They shared a post that somebody was selling a used trimmer for $20, and they put underneath it, because the picture is of the thing sitting on a charger on a kitchen counter, and the caption that they put on it was, "Charging this thing in your kitchen is a power move."
Nice.
It's a fun account to follow. They've got some really quippy, funny stuff going on there. So
I thought you were going to say, like, I don't really want to buy someone's used trimmer. I don't
want to buy somebody's used trimmer. I think they shared it more for the humorous aspect.
Yeah.
But whoever's running that account over there, they're kind of tongue in cheeky, and I like it.
That's good. I like it. They got balls, if you will.
Yeah. Fair point.
All right, great. So again, thank you guys. Manscaped.com. They take good care of us, and I want you to take care of them as well. But they're out there. They're doing well. Do you know what else is doing well, Jamie? Batman.
What?
The Batman.
The Batman.
Yeah. As of this chat, I think we are 3 weeks or just shy of 3 weeks away from the Batman hitting HBO Max. So that's coming up.
Well, that's coming around the corner quick, isn't it?
But that'll be good because I do want to see it again, but I want to see it again with my daughter. I'm sure she'll be
just watch a Batman
enthralled. Film. Exactly, right? I mean, in her first days of life, we watched nothing but Batman movies, so we should continue.
You have to inundate them very quickly, very young.
Exactly.
I didn't start mine quick enough, so none of them are quite hooked on Batman like they used to be.
Come on. They'll come back around. We all had that phase, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to talk a little bit about the Batman and how it is doing. It is always fun to follow the box office. Like we said, I always called that my sports. And I tell you, I fell off a little bit because of the pandemic. Box office numbers just weren't the same, and they don't work the same as they used to. But I'll tell you, the Batman is playing as if there's no pandemic, which I guess for America is like, I don't know, I don't know if me and Catherine were talking about this. Is it over? Are we pretending it is? I don't know.
My wife was trying to explain to me the other day that it's not really a pandemic anymore. It's more of an endemic. And then she started breaking down the specifics of what really separates the two. Like, this is now something we're probably just going to have to live with forever.
I think
it'll
so.
Be like an ever-present thing. But
exactly,
it's not. I mean, it's serious. I don't ever want to take anything away from. I mean, it's hit people hard, but it's just one of those things we're just going to have to get used to, I guess. That sounds way harsher than I'm meaning it to come off as, but
Well,
I'm not trying to
I
be a
think
douchebag
we
about it.
mostly have, and
Yeah,
I think that's just
think
it.
so.
So, Batman is mostly playing as if there is no pandemic, and that's great. It's doing well. It's week to week decreases have been very moderate, which means good word of mouth. It got an A- cinema score, which is solid. And where we are today, as we're talking, it has now made $335 million. So it's $335,416,544. That's just domestic in North America. Yeah, obviously, just taxes there. Internationally, it's made $340,900,000 for a worldwide take, again, as of this moment, of $676,316,544. So what does that mean? Where does that land us?
Well, depending on who you talk to on social media, that means it's a tremendous flop.
Well, here's what's funny. I see you calling out people who call this a flop. I see you doing that.
I can't stand it.
But here's the thing. I haven't seen a single person call it a flop, so I don't know who you're following. But I have not seen a single soul say this was a flop.
Twitter's like, you're talking about this, so maybe you should follow these people. And then it lists off these things that these people are saying were based on topic or whatever. And I'm just like, no, these aren't the people I want to follow. Stop.
Well, I haven't seen, all I've seen is people saying it's not a flop. I've not seen anyone actually claim it is a flop. But I will say the rule of thumb, the rule that you go by is you triple the production budget and it's got to make that to break even. There's some variation there, but that tends to be a pretty good rule that most people will use. And we thought it was $100 million. We found out it was $200 million because of pandemic costs. So that would have made the break-even line at $600 million. And it's now at $676 million. So it is well into the black. And as far as DC movies go, this was kind of fun. It is currently number 5, just behind Joker, Wonder Woman, The Dark Knight Rises, and The Dark Knight. But it is like spitting distance of Joker, so by the time I finish this sentence, it will pass Joker. It's that close. It just squeaked past Aquaman probably yesterday. Domestic, again, this is North America numbers. Because Aquaman, right now, Aquaman, Batman, and the Joker all made $335 million and change. And it's the change where the difference is at the moment. So it squeaked past Aquaman yesterday, and it is going to squeak past Joker today. And then it will be number 4 behind Wonder Woman, The Dark Knight Rises, and The Dark Knight.
It's good company.
It is. I don't see it getting to Wonder Woman numbers. Now that I said that, that's what's gonna happen, because Wonder Woman did 412, and I don't know if it can get that much more out in the next 3 weeks, but we'll see. Stranger things have happened.
Anything is possible. There's pushes and surges, and people are certainly going to see this multiple times, and God bless you all that are doing it. But I just feel like in the times that we're in now, I just don't see it happening. I think had this been a pre-pandemic release, I think it probably is gunning for those Dark Knight numbers.
I think so too. And if it had opened a different time of year and we didn't have this HBO Max release looming, I think you're right. I think it, at that point you are looking at a cum kind of like Wonder Woman. I just think that as soon as it hits HBO Max in 3 weeks, that's all she wrote.
And that'll be kind of a weird thing too, because I'm interested to know if anybody's tracking this. I've seen a couple of things pop up here and there about it, about spikes in subscription numbers, like the number of people subscribing. I'm curious to know if anybody's going to be able to track that to see how hard that hits once the Batman lands on HBO Max.
Yeah.
Because you can't really do a box office thing or anything like that. But I mean, in the day and age we're in now, where streaming is more and more prevalent, you almost have to, in the back of your mind, even if you don't know the specific numbers, you kind of have to give it the benefit of the doubt of saying it means big money to the streaming services having a big hit like that within 45 days of the theatrical window. It just, people like me, I did that with Halloween Kills.
Yeah, with Peacock.
I didn't have a Peacock premium subscription, Halloween Kills, they're like, oh, it's on Peacock Plus now, or Premium, or whatever they call it. So I dropped the $10 and got it for a month and watched a couple of movies, and including watching that one a couple times, because that's literally half the price it would have been for me to take one of my kids with me, or a fifth of the price to take my entire family to see it, or basically the same price if just I went. So it just made sense to do that, and then I got rid of the subscription.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I mean, I think they have seen that. HBO Max, like, there are debates to be had whether or not they did the right thing last year about the day and date with streaming and theaters. And, I can kind of see it both ways, but that absolutely helped subscriptions on HBO Max, because HBO Max is second only to Disney Plus at this point. Or maybe Netflix, maybe it's Netflix, then Disney Plus, then HBO Max. But they're all like right in the same league. And that happened really quick. And it happened last year with all of those day and date things. So Wonder Woman 1984 and The Suicide Squad and everything else. Like, again, it's hard to like just, it's hard to figure out which spike with which movie and all that. But the point is it's driving people to that service. And I do think that this 6-week thing, it's smart, because most movies have petered out after 6 weeks at the box office. It's the rare word of mouth hit that just keeps going after that point. And then, for everybody who is not comfortable going back to theaters or whatever, they don't want to take their kids, or it's more expensive or whatever, that still drives more people to HBO Max after 6 weeks. And so it does feel like something of a win-win, especially when you look at these numbers for the Batman, where it ain't hurting with box office.
No.
So
they're completely in the black now, and then some.
Yeah. So number 4, again, it'll be number 4. It'll be interesting to see how close it gets to Wonder Woman's 412. And then above Wonder Woman is The Dark Knight Rises with 448. And then above that is still The Dark Knight with $533 million. And again, these are all domestic numbers. Worldwide, it's a little different. So worldwide, it is just past Man of Steel. So Man of Steel worldwide was 667. And the Batman is at 676. So it just passed Man of Steel, but it has a little ways to go. So let's see what number it is. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's number 7 worldwide. Right above Man of Steel, but right below Suicide Squad from 2016. So worldwide for Suicide Squad is $745 million. Again, we're at 676. I think that is absolutely achievable. I think that it will probably pass Suicide Squad by the time all is said and done at about $750 million. Then is Wonder Woman again, $818 million. Then
I don't think it makes that.
I don't think so either. I would be shocked if this made its way to 800. It's going to be 700 and change. The question is if the over-under of Suicide Squad 745.
It'll be close, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. It'll be really close. Anyway, just above Wonder Woman is Batman v Superman, 872. And then just above that is The Dark Knight, which is just a little bit. It's $1.006 billion. So like just over $1 billion for The Dark Knight. Then The Dark Knight Rises, which is $1.081 billion. And
wow,
then
talk about close.
Yeah. And then the number one DC film is still Aquaman at $1.14 billion.
Refresh my memory. Suicide Squad 16 did not get a China release, correct?
I don't think so.
Okay. And the Batman kind of got stifled on its numbers in China because of some outbreak issues that they're having over there once more.
Yeah.
So I think I think I read the other day, and please don't quote me on this because, you know, I'm old and my memory sucks, but I think they said it's going to be lucky to clear 20 in China.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is unfortunate, but I mean, it's just where we're at now.
Right. And that's the thing is Aquaman, you know, did very well domestically, but it made what the Batman has made thus far, which is $335 million. But China, Aquaman made like another $300 million in China.
Yeah.
It was huge there. So losing that China or getting not as much as you would want from that China market is a huge hit to the Batman. But even so, even without that $700+ million, is a really great solid number. And especially domestically, I've seen people.
There's no studio in the world, and you can argue the merits all day of which movie did better during what time and 3D costs and whatever else you want to factor into this. No studio on earth is going to not make a movie because it only cleared $700 million global. None of them. It's not.
Well, that depends on how much it cost.
Well, most of these movies you're talking about in this day and age, a quote unquote Cape movie is 200 million, give or take. The bigger ones anyway. So, I mean, obviously you've got the massive crossover ones like the last two Avengers films or what have you, or even Justice League to an extent, I suppose. But it just, for a $200 million budget, I don't know of any studio that's going to say, no, it's only going to pull 700 million, don't bother making it. Like this whole narrative of a $200 million movie has to clear $1 billion to be worth doing is nonsense.
Yes, that I will agree with. So yeah, there you have it. It will land very firmly at number 4 domestically. Again, it might inch up to number 6 worldwide. But again, I would be shocked if it goes higher than that. But still, the point is, with word of mouth, with the way it's been holding week to week, it is very successful. And yeah, it certainly creates a really strong base for what comes next.
Now, you're more of a numbers kind of guy in that you understand box office and budgets and things like that. I'm not as well versed in that stuff as you, so I'm going to ask you this question before I ask my next question. Do they count production budget with the advertising budget together? Like, is the advertising budget for the film part of the production budget that they list as this is what we spent to make the movie?
Nope, that's separate.
Okay. I was only asking that because I thought to myself, after Spider-Man No Way Home did what it did and is apparently even still doing, even though it's available on digital now, props to them for turning out that one. Wow, I still can't believe the numbers on that thing.
Well, and that's what I was going to say is I've seen people try to pit that against the Batman, and I'm like, that's not a fair comparison. I think if you want a fairer comparison, you put the Batman against Spider-Man Homecoming, and that makes more sense because then you're looking at a fresh reboot of a beloved character with a new actor, and that's more of an apples to apples comparison. No Way Home is not, so those comparisons I think are totally unfair.
Well, plus this doesn't have Ben Affleck and Michael Keaton in it, so. But the only reason I said that is, we thought the budget was going to be around 100 to 120 million is what we kept hearing for some reason. And then it suddenly spiked up to 200. And I noticed in the span of the month before the movie came out, the advertising for it was everywhere. So yeah. I wonder if I was just wondering if the studio saw they can get butts and seats in a theater right now if they spend the money to let people know, and they saw Spider-Man success and just threw a huge big heap of cash at it and got the advertising up, and that's why the budget went higher. But if it doesn't count against it, then my theory's out the window. So it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. But that's part of why the rule of 3 times its production budget comes from, because essentially the reason that would be the case here is that production budget was $200 million. Marketing was at least $100 million, right? So that's $300 million.
Right.
The theaters keep half the money. So it's got to make $600, half of which goes back to the studio. You're at $300 million, and now everything else is in the black. That's why.
Gotcha. Okay.
And again, there are there are certainly variations within that, because like maybe marketing was 150, maybe marketing was 75. And also studios are a little cagey about the actual production budget. They say it's 200, maybe it was 150, but they're reporting 200 because it gives them a tax write-off. Like, they do all kinds of shady shit. And Hollywood, I don't know if you remember hearing, but Bohemian Rhapsody had a production budget of $50 million, and it made, I don't think it made $1 billion, but I think it made like $900 million. And Fox still said we didn't make a profit. And you're like, well, that doesn't make sense. What are you talking about?
If you listen to any of the industry insiders, I listen to Mick Garris's podcast. I love it. I think it's great. They're always talking about movies out there. They're like, no movie in Hollywood has made a profit since 1913.
Exactly. It's all shady accounting. But again, as far as like people who report on box office, that is that is the formula they use. So that is what I use, and that is the line we draw. Is like whether or not a movie is profitable is whether it can triple, or whether it gets past triple its production budget.
Then, just kind of a side thing to that, I used to listen to all the Kevin Smith podcasts. I've kind of grown out of it now, but he talked about 2 of his movies got to the point where he knew they had to have made money on it. And his lawyer told him, you have to sue them and get an independent audit done on the books for these movies, or you're never going to see a penny. They're just not going to hand it over to you.
Yeah.
He's like, well, I don't want to piss people. I think this is when he was still dealing with the Weinsteins.
Probably.
Big shock.
It sounds like
that.
But,
and the lawyer told him, he's like, you're not going to piss these guys off. They expect you to do it. That it's just part of the business. They're not going to give you the money until you make them give you the money. So yeah, shady stuff going on behind closed doors and whatnot.
Yeah. Well, and that's why like guys like, Nicholson's Joker, they ask for gross points, not net points. Because gross points is before the studio can say, oh, well, all these expenses, and we took a loss here, and we took a loss here. I think I got that. I think I got them right. It's gross and net.
Yes.
And so, yeah, like people who have the clout get gross points off the take. Guys like Nicholson did for Joker, or like Tom Cruise gets that. Like people like that, because that way, whatever the studio is going to pretend they didn't make, it doesn't hurt them. They still get paid.
Right.
Anyway, point being,
it's a fascinating rabbit hole.
It really is, and that's why I am so fascinated by it. But that's like, again, that's the rule that tends to be used. That is the rule that I go by, and everyone seems to sort of agree on that. So that's what we're going with.
Okay.
So anyway, what it does do is I think that it certainly puts the Batman in a place where, while very successful on its own, could also have a breakout sequel like The Dark Knight. Because people are liking it, people are going multiple times, word of mouth is good, and then there are going to be so many more people who then see it once it comes home, that I feel like as long as that goodwill continues, depending on what the next film is, how like Batman Begins was successful, but it was a moderate success, and then The Dark Knight was this massive phenomenon. I think that you could see something similar here, where the sequel to the Batman is like even bigger than what this one was.
I truly believe, barring some, global health crisis being worse than where we're at now, or something along those lines, some kind of a catastrophic thing, I truly believe we're going to see that reaction to the sequel to this film. I genuinely do.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that's what we're looking at, which is great. So anyway, just fun to talk box office. I miss it. Good stuff. Great to see the Batman so successful, especially it's like, well, again, I don't have these numbers in front of me, but I believe it is the second most successful movie in the pandemic era, behind No Way Home.
According to the Twitter account that I follow that tracks box office, yes, that is correct.
I believe that is correct. What drove me crazy, speaking of Kevin Smith, is I listened to him and Mark Bernardin's review on the Batman, which was very interesting. But Mark Bernardin said, oh, the Batman opened bigger than No Way Home. And I was like, no, dude, no, it didn't. So he got some bad info. But again, that's not necessarily the comparison you should be making. But it is funny because I don't know if you see this, but I certainly see it. It's mostly because me and Hunter is like the argument between, is Batman the biggest superhero in the world, or is Spider-Man?
I mean, right now, I would say Spider-Man is.
Well,
but
I would agree with you now. But for years it was always, which one's bigger? I mean, shoot, even Bob Kane and Stan Lee used to fight about it way back when. But anyway, then it is funny that the two biggest films of the pandemic are Batman and Spider-Man.
Well, let me really cook your noodle about that thought process now. Spider-Man appeals to an age bracket from about 2 to 102. Batman, for the last 15 years, has really kind of cut the knees off of that under 14 audience. So would the numbers be better if Batman was a more family-friendly presence? like Spider-Man tends to be in a lot of cases.
Mm-hmm.
Just something to think about. I mean, it's not even a discussion we need to have at this moment, but
Yeah, I understand your point.
But I mean, you go back to when Dark Knight Rises came out, and it just whatever. It was the first Amazing Spider-Man, I think, came out that year. 12?
Yeah,
right?
2012.
Yeah. And Dark Knight Rises cleaned its clock. I mean, it wasn't even close.
Yep. That is true.
Now the Batman is really not even close to No Way Home. So I mean, things go up and down and move about.
But again, here's my point: it never would. But if you compare it to Homecoming and Far From Home, it's actually right there in the same neighborhood.
No, I fully agree with you in that respect. But if Batman himself is enough to put a butt in a seat and is, arguably one of the two biggest characters on the planet, the other being Spider-Man, you would think that the draw would automatically be there for Batman like it was with Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Even though your points are perfectly valid in what you're saying about this being, the big trilogy capper, if you will. I mean, I'm sure there'll be a fourth one coming now, given those kind of numbers, but and bringing in the previous two Spider-Men and just all that stuff is factored in.
Right.
Me personally, I mean, is it fun to jab back and forth over who's making more money? Yeah, sure. I've been involved in that right along, even going back as far as Dark Knight Rises versus The Amazing Spider-Man. I was all into doing that stuff back and forth, but it's never a factor for me. Whether or not I love a movie has absolutely no bearing if it makes $50 or $500 billion. It's almost meaningless to me. All it is at that point a discussion topic or bragging rights.
Well, here's why it's meaningful to me. Because I agree, it doesn't affect my enjoyment of the movie, but it's meaningful to me if I want to get more movies.
Fair point.
That's where my commitment. That's why I care how much it makes. All right. Well,
I wish success. I've said this right along, and I know sometimes I say things that sound like they're being demeaning towards other films or what have you, but I truly want all of these movies to be successful, because when they start becoming unsuccessful, you start seeing less and less of them. And frankly, I don't mind getting 6 to 10 of these movies a year, even if I like some of them a lot less than I like others.
Yeah. I mean, the good news, it sounds like Morbius is another home run, so I think we're going to be fine.
I'm going to go see that movie just on principle.
I want to. The question is whether or not I can break away from the baby, but I still want to see it. I'm still curious. I'll be honest.
Bringing it back around, the only reason I'm hesitant to go, because it was done by the same guy that did Dracula Untold and some other movie that I hated.
Okay. I kind of liked Dracula Untold.
Maybe this is for you.
I didn't love it, but it was all right. Okay. Anyway, we got to clean out emails. That's the whole point of this whole episode. Right. But anyway, yes, just kind of fun to break down and discuss how the Batman is doing. Great to see it doing so well, and certainly excited for what comes next. But we've gotten so many emails over the past few weeks that we need to catch up on. So without further ado, why don't we crack open the Wayne Manor Mailbox? It's time again for Wayne Manor Mailbox.
You've got mail.
What is a letter for me?
Maybe temporary.
She wrote a letter.
You're one hell of a messenger. This is all, Master Wayne.
All right, let's see here. This message comes from Devin Stanley. It says, "Hey, Bat Boys. I'm sorry you caught so much grief for your review of The Batman. Mature adults should be able to discuss movie opinions without devolving into brats. Adults know this, though, which makes me think that the people who attacked you were either my 6th grade students. They now get escorted to the bathroom because they think it's fun to stuff full rolls of paper towels in the school toilets, or adults doing it intentionally because they thrive off of being annoying. Either way, it's embarrassing for them, and I hope that this week has been better for you. Bat question, I've seen The Batman twice, and I was confused both times. When Bruce Wayne enters the wake, right after he talks to Falcone about the Hippocratic Oath, there's a guy behind the barrier. He and Bruce look at each other, and the guy says, "Wait, haven't I seen you before?" Bruce stares at him in horror as if he gets swept away by the crowd. Who the hell was that guy? Why did Bruce look so shocked? What did I miss? Thanks for all you do, Devin Stanley. Thanks, Devin. is that the guy who is ranting and who shows up at the end as one of the Riddler's little followers, or is it someone else?
I think so. I've heard a lot of people say that. I mean, I'm separated enough from the movie now. It's been a few weeks since I've seen it that I can't place it. I know there was a fan theory that the Fire Rises boys were talking about, that some people are saying that it was Joe Chill. But I mean, there's no confirmation to that. That's all.
Wait, which guy? The guy who was ranting, or is this the guy who ends up being a Riddler follower? Or are we talking about someone completely different?
I think that is him, but I'm not positive.
Okay. Yeah, Devin, I'm sorry, I'm no help because I've seen it twice, and I don't remember if this is someone separate from the other guy who we see twice in the movie. This is something for when it hits HBO Max I got to look out for, but I'm afraid.
Send that note to Eric Carter because I think he's seen the movie 41 times now. He'll know.
Okay, great. And as for the other note, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, it's the anonymity of the internet, right? Allows people to act like sixth graders. So
I'm over it. I don't even pay attention to it anymore.
All right, next message here is from Charlie Higgins. It says, "Hey guys, first I wanted to say how much I love the podcast. Shamefully, I only started listening a few weeks ago, but now I realize I have over 300 episodes to catch up on. I've always been what you call a casual Batman fan. I love the movies, but I've never really read the comics. Time for that to change. So I have a couple questions. Number one, what episodes of your podcast would you put in your top 10 for me to listen to? I appreciate that's a lot to remember, but if you can suggest some educational episodes, I would greatly appreciate it. Number two, after I've done a rewatch of all the movies, what would you recommend I try next? I've already ordered the first few volumes of the New 52 Batman comics, but what else should be on my list? Gotham, the animated series, other books? Help! Anyway, I'm so pleased I found the podcast. I really like the balance that you guys bring to it. Cheers, Charlie from the UK." Thanks, Charlie. Great to meet you, and welcome to the show. Glad you're enjoying it. Yeah. So episodes of our show that Charlie should go back and listen to, Jamie.
Off the top of my head, any of them involving Richard Citrone.
I knew you were going to say that.
I mean, how can you not love those episodes?
Richard's a great
guy. You learn a lot listening to him about things that you may not catch from other people speculating or whatnot. And Richard's just an all-around great guy. He and I were just chatting about football the other day, so. But that's the one downside to him. He is a Steelers fan, but I'm still not over that. But the anniversary episodes I'm kind of proud of. Mostly that's because I'm patting each other on the back with it. But I enjoy listening to those in retrospect.
Mm-hmm. I think our 200th was really good because that one we got a bunch of like special guests to send in audio clips. That was really fun. The 300th was another chat with Richard, so that's certainly worth listening to. I think Richard's first appearance is honestly that brought so many people to the show because he was able to share so many fun stories about the making of BVS and Suicide Squad at that time. So yeah, definitely check that one out. Our commentary for Batman and Robin.
I would say listen to the first episode, but don't go back there just yet. I mean, if you listen to the first episode when we're still really just trying to figure out the balance of what we're doing here is interesting as opposed to what we've evolved into now. Mm-hmm. I mean, I still stutter and ramble and everything else. That's just how I am. But the difference between starting out like we're in a garage and actually, being something that quite a few people listen to every episode of it's an accomplishment, I think.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I feel like, especially if you like the movies, most of our commentary episodes, I think, are pretty darn fun. Man of Steel, BVS, Batman 89. I think those are all really good. We've revisited quite a few of the old movies, and I think those were really fun. Like the Batman 89 look back, that was really early on in the show, but that was super fun. The Batman Returns episode that we did with the other Jamie Magoo, to show that you guys can peacefully coexist. That was really fun.
I love
villains
Magoo.
bracket.
I constantly like to tease that there can be only one. It's the whole Highlander thing.
Yeah.
That's all it is there.
The villains bracket was really cool way back when.
Other than the end result, I fully agree.
Okay. All right.
Still not over that. Never going to be.
So I mean, go back and just like if there are any of the topics that interest you, check it out. But yeah, there's quite a few back there. And as you said, Jamie, the anniversary episodes are great. Some of the ones where we've had special guests like Reno Romano from the Batman animated series. That one was really cool.
That was a fun episode. Yeah.
Relatively recently, when we had Kevin Altieri from Batman the Animated Series on, that was really fun. So yeah, like, you know, we've had some cool guests over the years, the Dynamic Music Partners, who did a lot of the composing for Batman animated stuff. So there's a lot to like. Just go back and see what jumps out at you. And then what should you do next? Batman the Animated Series.
Yes. An entire generation plus is fed Batman through that series. There are so many people, and I would say an overwhelming majority say that that is Batman. Like that's the prototype of Batman. People out there think they should base movies off of that, and that's the style that they want and the type of Batman that they want. And you know what? I ain't even mad at that. It probably wouldn't be the first thing that would pop in my head for it, but at this point, I certainly would not object to it in the least.
Yep, I agree. I think do that. Do a series rewatch. Sample Batman 66. See if it's your taste, but that's super fun if you like that style of Batman. And then, yeah, comics, like you can always go in and do some of the most iconic Batman stories, especially the ones that are easy to buy on their own, like The Dark Knight Returns, like Year One, like Hush, like The Long Halloween. Those are all really great reads that you can do if you're looking to read more. And
so many of those feed directly into what we've seen in Batman in cinema for the last 30 plus years also.
Yep. So there you go. Welcome to the world of Batman. I hope you enjoy. There is endless content, and that is why we love it so much. But good to meet you, Charlie. All right. Next message is from Daniel Barham. He says I don't have to read it. I'm just going to read it real quick. He does say, I really appreciate that all you do. I've been with this podcast since the beginning. My opinions may differ from you guys sometimes, but I respect you and I want to hear your opinions. I could ramble on. I just want to say thank you and don't let the bastards get you down. Sincerely, Daniel Barham. Thank you, Daniel. Again, I said on the last episode, like, the outpouring of support that has happened in the wake of the backlash from our review of the Batman has been really encouraging and very much appreciated. So I said it before, I'll say it again. For everybody who took time out of their lives to send me a message of support, I hope you know how much it truly means to me. So thanks for that, Daniel.
Right on.
This message is from Cam Stewart. It says, hey guys, I wanted to respond to Andy's question about the Batmobile. Personally, I love it as a year 2 Batmobile, but I would definitely like to see it evolve, just like the Batsuit and the villains. For me, this Batmobile ranks number 2 as far as live action goes, behind the BVS Batmobile. To me, it just works perfectly for this version of Batman. I'd prefer to see a more fantastical Batman, but for what we got, I loved it. P.S. Jamie, agree to disagree on this one. Still my favorite intro to a Batmobile. Oh, it's still my favorite intro to a Batmobile in a movie, but you're still my dude.
I'm sorry. The 89 introduction for me is like, I remember seeing that, you know, all 6 times I saw that in the theater. Every time I knew that scene was coming, I was just like, ee! But, you know, listen, the sound of this new Batmobile, it's great. I kind of don't have anything nice to say after the sound.
Well, I mean, I said it on the last one we were looking at the Batmobile chases, is having going back and revisiting them. So many of those Batmobile chases have great Batmobile introductions. And I do think the Batman is included in that. I think the introduction for Batman 89 is fantastic. The Tumbler in Batman Begins is great. The BVS Batmobile, the Batman, all of those I think have really great Batmobile intro moments.
It's its own character, man. It's a big deal in the world of Batman, so it's got to have its moment. And listen, if you people out there that love this car, I'm really glad you do, and I wish I could be on that boat with you, but I'm just not. But for those of you that do love it, yeah, I'm sure that's a great introduction, and I'm glad you guys are all, you know, hip deep into it. I really am. Just not for me.
Yep. All right, next message is from Tom Fallows. It says, "Hey guys, I hope you're doing well. I'm sorry to hear that you got some negative responses on your review of The Batman. End of the day, it's just a movie. We've had worse things happening the past few years, and even more worse things happening at the moment to get upset about. My question is this. Each Batman director has had their own aesthetic for Batman and his world. Which villain would you have liked to have seen each director give their interpretation of? Also, Jamie, you can't say nobody for Schumacher. Have fun with the question, guys. Tom Fallows." Thanks, Tom. Okay, all right. So each director doing their spin on a villain. And I'm assuming this means not one that they actually did, right? So
I would assume so.
A
Are we going back to 66 or are we starting at 89?
I think we're starting at 89.
Okay.
Burton.
Scarecrow. I mean, what other answer could there possibly be for Burton than Scarecrow?
Okay, I'll second that. I was going to say Two-Face just because I still am a little bitter that we didn't get Billy D. Two-Face, but the Scarecrow.
No objection to that, but I mean, Burton's sensibilities and his stylistic choices, I think, lend themselves wonderfully to Scarecrow. And
No, that's a great
point. I'm
point.
heartbroken it never happened.
Nope, I completely agree with you. Schumacher.
Since Schumacher was effectively trying to emulate, in many people's opinions or whatnot, Batman 66, I would have liked to have seen Schumacher take a swing at somebody like King Tut or Egghead.
Oh, I like it. This is weird because it's kind of going backwards, but we're doing it by director. I think Schumacher's version of Joker could have been very good, especially because he tried to make everyone else into the Joker.
Yeah.
So being able to just do the Joker, I think, could have been really fun.
Well, I mean, they try to canonize it as those two being sequels to the Burton films, right?
They do, but again, he's saying it's by director, not by franchise.
Okay, all right.
So that's how I'm going with.
Gotcha.
All right, Nolan.
That's a tough one.
No, it's not.
Okay, you go first.
Riddler. We all wanted to see Nolan do the Riddler.
That's fair. That's fair.
We all wanted to see that happen. We all thought it was going to happen, and we never got it. So I'm always kind of sad that we never did see that.
I can't come up with anything better than that now that you've said it, because that lends itself to him anyway. Riddler can be a very believable, if you will, character. So, that fits in his world. And now that you've said it, I'm really kind of surprised it never did happen.
Yeah. I guess that's Snyder then. Snyder.
Snyder's tendency to be big, bold, bombastic. I think I'm going to lean towards like a monstrosity of a character, like a Solomon Grundy or a Clayface, something along those lines. I think his style lends itself into that world really well. And, I don't think his Doomsday was perfect. I think it was close. So I like most of what I saw from Doomsday, other than just a couple of small choices made with him. So seeing what he would have done with something like a Clayface or a Solomon Grundy, I think would have been just cool.
Yeah. All right. I'm going for Snyder, Mr. Freeze.
It's a good call.
I think he could have done a really cool, scary Mr. Freeze, because Snyder is so interesting, and I think this is what I love about him, is like he takes it seriously, but he's not afraid to make it fantastical.
Certainly.
It's a bit of a contradiction, but for me, it really works the way he combines the two.
Yeah.
And then finally, Matt Reeves.
I got to go more. I got to take like the superpowers element out of it. So, I mean, you already said Mr. Freeze for him, but I'm leaning towards Freeze for Matt Reeves, but I'm not sure if that's quite the right answer that I want to put down for it. You got anything?
Yes, but it's mostly, I'm saying it for Brendan, Black Mask. I think Matt Reeves doing Black Mask could be really cool. And would fit into his world pretty seamlessly.
I don't know if it's quite a thing that we're ready for yet. I mean, I know we've had this whole multiverse and simultaneous Batman running, perpendicular to each other, what have you. Or parallel, I should say, parallel to each other. Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
and he should cast Samara Weaving for that, because anybody who's seen Guns Akimbo, that's her audition tape to play Harley Quinn. I'm sorry, it's great. I loved her in that.
But she could never meet Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn because the universe would fold in on itself.
True. It's very true.
All right. Fun question, Tom. Thanks for that. Next message is from Dave Chambers. It says, "Hey, Holy BatCast team. First and foremost, I'm sorry you received negative comments in regards to your review episode. It's terrible, and I'm saddened that people who like Batman as a character would respond to other opinions like that. I finally saw the film this week, and I side with you guys on your thoughts and letter grade. The casting was phenomenal. Colin Farrell did an amazing job as the Penguin, truly a standout. Pattinson did a good job bringing Batman to life. His presence in the suit is great. His voice was perfect. However, his Bruce Wayne left a lot to be desired. Not a knock on him, but just on the writing. I don't agree with that story point, or at least allow Bruce to be seen at the end standing next to the mayor as he helps in rebuilding Gotham. It's a missed story point, and it really shows that the writing team didn't understand the character. Batman has 3 different characters: the Batman that is seen by the public, Batman Bruce in the cave, and then Bruce's public persona. I feel like Pattinson could pull it off. It's just sad that it wasn't in the film. I loved all the comic references, everything from Year One, The Long Halloween, Hush, to Catwoman when in Rome. All some of my favorite stories of the Dark Knight and his world. From those comics came one of my favorite expositional devices, Batman's inner monologue. It was finally brought to life in this film, and I loved that. But, like you guys, I feel like I'd seen this film before. Many of the story beats, dialogue, and atmosphere are pulled straight from the Dark Knight trilogy. Don't say that out loud. People get mad. And so for me, it hurt the film in a big way. The design of the film was not great, in my opinion. It was not iconic. The Batsuit, the Batmobile, the cave, the gadgets, Gotham, Catwoman, Riddler, Penguin, none of it felt like it had personality. None of it grabbed my attention the way that the 1966 show, Burton, Schumacher, Nolan, and Snyder did with Batman and his world. All that being said, if there's a sequel, then I hope those things are addressed. I feel like it was hinted at with the Batcycle's appearance at the end. It had some flair. The possibility of more fantastical elements like Mr. Freeze and the introduction of Robin, all that could help me love this new take even more, but time will tell. Thanks for always being fun to listen to, and sorry for the long email, Dave Chambers." Thanks, Dave. Thank you for the kind words, and thanks for your review. I mean, honestly, yeah, it seems like you're pretty in line with a lot of our thoughts when it comes to the movie. So, yeah, like you said, time will tell. There's certainly no reason that the sequel can't provide more of what we want, and it'll just be interesting to see where it goes, but this is a pretty balanced review, and I don't really disagree with anything you said. Jamie?
The only thing that I would say is I get it. There's been a lot of discussion and debate about the choices for Bruce as a character out of the costume and whatnot. For me personally, listen, Pattinson's performance in and out, everything was great. And I want to reiterate that everybody did a great job, top to bottom in this cast, from the extras to Pattinson himself. I think everybody did a great job. But even though I know that it's trying to sell the narrative that Reeves was putting in the story of Bruce being where he's at mentally and whatnot in that moment, it's not a choice I would have made. And I know I'm not the writer of the film. They don't pay me for that. So there's nothing wrong with how they did it in the context of the way they did it. It's just not what I would have wanted.
Yeah. Well, and I think that Reeves even has addressed that recently, as someone asked him that, and he said, "Oh, Bruce isn't there yet. He hasn't figured that out yet," which is fine. And I do think that within the course of the movie, that makes sense. But to me, and I said this in the review, is they certainly planted the seeds early in the film that Bruce was supposed to learn that by the end of the film, and he doesn't. And so for me, it does feel like a missing beat. I do think it'll be addressed in the sequel, but I also like the excuse, they're not there yet, can't be used for everything.
Yeah, I do agree with that. There's only so much you can do as far as the building up. At some point, the character has to level out and be what Andy has been asking for as long as I've known him, Batman in his prime.
Well, maybe next time. All right, next message is from our pal Chris, the Objective Geek. He says, "Hey guys, I hope all is well. I hope that the disrespectful idiots who messaged you didn't tarnish your perception of the Batman, because I think along with Batman Begins, it's the most aspirational Batman film there is, and it baffles me that fans of the movie would disregard the general sentiment of the film of embracing hope and kindness, but instead they treat people the opposite. Unfortunately, this irony is present across all fandom. So, sort of a related question. Is there a moment, TV show, film that changed your perception of Batman? For me, it was the Justice League episode Epilogue that showed Batman swinging with Ace. For me, that took him from an agent of vengeance to an aspirational protector of innocence. I hope you reviewed that episode right after you finish Batman Beyond, as it caps off the story. On a lighter note, who do you ship Batman with? Catwoman, Talia, Andrea Beaumont, or someone else? And where would you like to see that relationship end? Keep up the great and appreciated work, Chris." Thanks, Chris. Always good to hear from you. And I hope you liked the last episode. That was all in honor of you. It is a tragic irony that so many superhero fans act like villains. It's crazy. But it's so true. Oh man. All right. So, a Batman moment, TV show, film, something that changed your perception of Batman, Jamie.
I mean, this is the answer I give for like everything, but like Dark Knight Returns, like Batman was present in my life. I was aware of him. I always liked Batman, but like reading The Dark Knight Returns changed so much of how I view Batman and appreciate Batman. And I know people will say, too psychotic, Miller's too hardcore, too fascist, too whatever. And you know what? I get that. If it doesn't line up with your taste, cool. But for me, it's the best, not only the best Batman story, but the best work of fiction I've ever read, printed or illustrated or otherwise. And that book really ends on kind of a hopeful note. Batman knows that he either has to kill Superman or do what he did. Spoilers for anybody who hasn't read this book that's, 35 years old now. 36 years old. Jesus, no wonder I'm so gray. Anyway, the end of that book where he's, teaching these kids how to survive and live down in the caves, it's a darker story, but that hopeful note of ending there, Superman realizes Batman's not dead and he's faked his death, and he just kind of gives that little smirk and wink at Kelly. It just, I don't know. That to me, that was, you talk about you and Batman dated, and then Batman 89 was the moment you got married. I think for me, Batman and I were in that relationship, and Dark Knight Returns is where he and I got hitched for life. That just altered everything that I knew and loved about Batman. And I still loved a lot of Batman prior to that. But, I was one of those people, piss on 66. It's a joke. And then I had to circle back around to it as I got older and appreciated more what it really was, instead of being that person that has to rip down what came before to build up what is here now.
Yeah. What changed my biggest perception of him was Batman 89, because that was where he just grabbed my imagination and never let go. But as far as like a moment, I would say it's the ending of Batman Begins. I do think that I've said it before, it's one of my favorite Batman moments anywhere, because it is just so heroic. And I feel like I've said it before, and I think that's one of the things I love about the Batman is like sometimes we forget to embrace Batman as a hero. And I love that moment at the end of Batman Begins where he's not doing it for thanks. He's not doing it for glory. He's just doing it to help. He's just doing it because it's the right thing to do. And I think that the ending of that movie just nails that perfectly.
Yeah. And if you don't have those elements with Batman, and I'm not saying this to be like utterly disrespectful, because I love this character too, but if you're not having the moments where Batman is doing heroic and helpful things like that, either as Bruce Wayne or as Batman or both, you basically just have Punisher light. You just have a guy that just runs around whooping on people all the time.
Yeah.
And you get nothing else out of it. So he has to be more than that, or he's really not what he set out to be in the first place. Mm-hmm. In my opinion.
Nope, that's true. And again, that's sometimes why I get frustrated is people do forget that element of Batman, and it's a bummer.
You even think about the end of Justice League, where, Bruce is getting all the stuff set up, or I guess it's the end of, it's Justice League, where he talks about, you have the table with, room for these people and more to add, and the conversation he had with Martian Manhunter, or even the moment where he's getting the Kent farm back, and he bought the bank in order to get them their farm back. I mean, those moments work because that's him doing something other than just punching something, And don't get me wrong, I love it when Batman punches stuff. It's great. It's one of my favorite things in the world. But without these other moments, it's just not the same.
Agreed. And who do you ship Batman with?
Comics, Talia. Animated, Andrea.
Okay.
Live action, I don't really care.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it is Catwoman. I just think they're great. But how does it end? I feel like it never does. I feel like
that depends on whether or not do you read Tom King, because we've had like 94 endings of him and Catwoman now.
I know. But for me, I feel like that's who his soulmate is, but they can never truly be together forever because they're so much alike, but they want slightly different things. All right, next message here. This is from James Landis. It says, "Dear Brendan, Jamie, and especially Andy, let me preface this by saying I started listening to Holy BatCast and Disorder in 2017 because I was tired of listening to political podcasts that made me sad. If you recall, politics have recently become particularly nuts, and I was moving from one side to the other and wondering who my friends were. Being part of political Twitter, I constantly get the same kind of awful personal vitriol that Andy recently suffered. Listening to your podcast was a good way of getting away from that nonsense, and I was keen on indulging in things that made me happy, like Batman and Disney. I went to see the Batman on opening night, and I absolutely loved it. It's exactly what I wanted, a version of The Dark Knight. When I listened to your podcast review of the movie, I was less than pleased from hearing your opinions, as they didn't match up with mine. You guys made me groan a couple of times. In the end, though, it was a respectful review of a movie that you guys liked but didn't love. I certainly wasn't going to level any criticism at you guys other than a few eye rolls. Andy, you're one of the most positive people on the internet. You bring a smile to my face every time I hear your voice. That anyone would give you personal grief for your opinions is wrong, especially since longtime listeners know you have a sensitive and empathetic soul. Anyone that would say anything to hurt you is a sorry excuse for a human being. I'm sorry you had to go through this. I know how it feels, and it sucks. Guys, thanks for giving us a good set of podcasts to listen to. The haters will fade away, and all that will remain will be the appreciation that we listeners have for all your efforts. All the best, James." All right, thanks, James. That, again, very, very sweet. I'm sorry to keep just saying thank you, but thank you. I appreciate that. And I mean, and here's the thing, like, good luck finding anyone in the world who has the same exact opinions with you on everything.
Yeah, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and a lot of it's opinions and everything else. I yell at my radio. I almost exclusively listen to podcasts in the car, going back and forth from places like taking kids to school and picking them up, whatever. And you wouldn't believe how many times in every episode of a podcast I'd be like, "Are you out of your mind? You're crazy. Yeah, well, that's ridiculous." But at the end of it, these people, so many of these podcasts I listen to are people that I'm friends with. And I would still say these things to their face, but it wouldn't be I don't want anything to do with you. You're the scum of the earth kind of a thing by the time it was done. So that's the part that never registers with me, that people have to be grown up enough to have differing opinions and still realize at the end of the day, screw it, dude, let's get a beer. It's just, that's how I see it.
No, I know. It's true. And listen to any podcast about anything. Someone's going to share an opinion that's going to make your eye roll, no matter what. Like, again, you're never going to match up, and that's okay. That's part of the fun of it. I mean,
since he's a Disorder listener, he'll appreciate this as I say it, and you'll know as soon as I say say it out loud. Hunter, Fagan, and I could not be more polar opposite in our taste in movies. Andy can vouch for this. Like, anything Hunter loves, I don't, and vice versa. Like, we have so little crossover in the things that we love. But guess what? Hunter's a friend of mine. We get along great. I mean, it's wonderful. He and I communicate, message and whatnot, and it's always civil and it's always wonderful. I've met Hunter in person and hung out with him. It was a good time. It's just, we had beers together. It was cool. I don't know why people have to get mad about this stuff.
Yeah.
I just don't.
Me and my wife, we agree on almost everything. Almost. But here's the problem.
She likes Thanos and you like Darkseid. I can see where this is going.
Not quite, but you're not far off. You're pretty close. You see, we all know that Michael Myers, The Shape, is the ultimate movie slasher. Sorry, best. Catherine thinks it's Jason Voorhees.
Oh.
And, I mean, I don't want to say too much, but we've gone through some really bumpy times in our marriage because of this. This has been really tough on us. It's really a problem. But you know what? Sometimes you just have to forgive and move on. Because
That's true.
What is Jason Voorhees but a cheap imitation of Michael Myers?
And not a very good one.
And not a very good one. I'm sorry. Sorry about it. My wife is so smart. She's one of the smartest people I know. Nobody's perfect.
Yeah, I get it. I totally get
But
it.
if we can make that work, any of us can.
Please believe she's going to hear about this from me the next time I see her.
You know what we did, though? Have you seen the Toonie Terrors from... I can't remember who makes them. If it's NECA or Funko. Have you heard of the Toonie Terrors?
I think so, yeah.
Oh my God, they're great. They're the coolest figures. And we bought one of Michael Myers and we bought one of Jason. And they stand up on our shelf together to show that we can coexist.
Okay. When I come over to your house, I'm hiding the Jason. I'm not going to tell you where. I won't damage it or cause anything like that, but it'll just, when I come over to your house, it's just going to disappear.
That's
and you'll
fine.
know I was responsible.
That's fine. I can't wait for her to hear this. Okay. Next message is from Aaron. It says, "Hey, legends. Hope all is well. I've been thinking about Reeves's Arkham show. With his sensibilities leaning towards ultra realism, do you think that handicaps him when dealing with the rogues? Who do you think would and wouldn't work in this world, and how far can this ultra realism hold before the rogues possibly break out and the more comic accurate characters begin to appear? Stay your manscaped beautiful best, you sexy creatures, Aaron Cajanto." Thanks, Aaron. It's a good question. What do you think, Jamie? Does the ultra realistic aesthetic of the Batman hamper the rogues?
Quite frankly, yes. Because I think you're cutting out a chunk that you don't need to cut out. I think you're limiting yourself on which characters can be used. I mean, we've already seen this interview that whoever did with him where he talks about Freeze, and he thinks, yeah, maybe there's a way I can make Freeze work. I mean, he's Mr. Frickin' Freeze. Of course there's a way he can work. He's been in Batman's, villains arsenal for 50, 60 years. Of course there's a way he can work. It's a matter of whether or not you want him to work the way you want him to work. So Reeves just has his own way that he wants to do it. That's cool. And I believe that he's talented enough and skilled enough. I think he can make things work, but I think he limits himself by not allowing for certain things to be in the world that he's created.
Yeah.
I don't think it hurts him necessarily. I just think it limits him. I don't know a better way to say it than that.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you. And that's just it, is when he made those comments about Mr. Freeze, a lot of fans were like, see, he can do it. And I was like, hearing him just try so hard to do the mental gymnastics to try and say Mr. Freeze could maybe work, I was like, no, I don't find this encouraging at all. So yeah, but again, where the movie ends, it could, you could go into that, direction if you really want to. But I think that, yeah, if he wants to stay where he is in the first film, it does, I think, hamper the possibilities, but it doesn't have to. But as far as what we know now, I think things like Scarface or Black Mask, those are the ones that I could see working in this world. Maybe some variation on the Mad Hatter, but yeah, basically anyone with powers, like a Mr. Freeze, like a Poison Ivy, like a Clayface, that's the stuff I just feel like wouldn't work in this world as it's set up now.
See, that people keep talking about Clayface and how they want to see him do Clayface. And Reeves has a darker type of a personality, and I respect that. I can roll with that. But I think Reeves, instead of making Clayface similar to what we know from comics and animation, would just make him a master of disguise. If that's the kind of shortcut you're going to take, don't even bother. You know what I mean? I know that sounds harsh coming off, but I would rather not see it than try to have him justify this character in a real world where it's not going to be something that I recognize. I already have enough problems with that in comic book movies that I've seen in the last decade where characters aren't something that I recognize or think are what they think they're at the potential that they could be. I don't need any more of it.
Yeah. All right.
I would rather see him fool with characters that fit in his world instead of trying to shoehorn one in and changing them too much.
Yes. All right, let's keep going. Next one is from Eric Carter. It says, "Hey there, old chums. First, on behalf of Joe Forno and myself, thank you for all the love you've given us recently on the show. It means a lot. You guys are still the best Bat podcast in the game. Secondly, to Andy's honest question about feelings of the Batmobile. While everyone knows I absolutely love the car, I'd absolutely love to see it evolve into a more traditional Batmobile. I see it currently as the early Neil Adams, Nick Giordano style sports car Batmobile. I can totally see it evolving in the future, and I think what we have now is a wonderful base model of what we could get going forward. For those who've read the prequel, we know it's already done quite a bit of evolving from Bruce's pre-Batman years to what we have in the movie. We've also already seen him adopting more of a bat motif by using the bat head on the motorcycle at the end of the movie. Knowing this, I see no reason to believe the car wouldn't morph along those lines as Batman himself progresses. Anyway, those are my thoughts. I hope it makes sense. Thank you guys again. You're always fair and so fun to listen to. Keep that bat signal lit and pointed skyward. Your bat brother, Eric Carter. P.S. Andy, contrary to recent rumors, I don't hate you. Sometimes these co-hosts can be real All right, thanks for that. And hey, if Eric Carter wants to see the Batmobile evolve, then there's hope for all of us.
I'm surprised he's still speaking to me because I told him on Twitter a week or two ago he's got a black Dodge Challenger with a Batman sticker on it. And I told him that he has more of a Batmobile than the Batman has.
Oh. Hey, I have a little silver bat symbol on the back of my car.
You have more of a Batmobile than the Batman has.
Okay, great.
I just wanted to say that just to get under Eric's skin because I know he's throwing shit in his office right now.
All right, next message is from Mike Labasco. It says, "Hey guys, first time, long time, so please excuse the message if it's too long, but I've wanted to write in for years. First, I wanted to comment on the possible future of the Batman. It's now understood that Barry Keoghan, so I thought I had it right, Keoghan, and then someone else goes, no, it's Keoghan. Okay, I'm going to go with Barry Keoghan. We'll see if that's right. I don't know.
Just call him Barry.
Barry K. It's now understood that Barry Keoghan's character, not yet the Joker, is in the movie. Divisive opinions aside, the movie is a success, so we're probably going to get a sequel. Recently, it's been announced that, even on this show, that there's been a pivot from making a GCPD series to now being an Arkham series. Aside from the additional Penguin and Catwoman series, I feel that this Arkham series will be exactly what leads into the next Batman film. We'll probably have 8 to 10 episodes of getting introduced to new Batman rogues that would never get their own due in a Batman movie, fleshing out the rogues gallery and this universe, but also with occasional scenes of patient sessions like Keoghan's almost Joker, interviewed by Dr. Harleen Quinzel. The last part of the series would have them both taking over the asylum and open up the Batman sequel to be Arkham Asylum. Reeves can do horror, and it's the best way, in my opinion, to introduce the Joker in the world without it following the same steps as Nolan had done with the Dark Knight trilogy, which of course made the Joker the main villain in the sequel. This would be a standout move by Reeves, and the movie could be big with casting. What do you think? Lastly, about the new Batmobile, my enthusiasm was curbed when I saw it, just because I thought it came out of Dom Toretto's garage, much like everyone else. Over time, I saw it more, and I appreciate it, but just as a version 1. I hope they evolve it as the series continues, much like you guys. My question is, what makes a Batmobile for you? I wish I had an answer other than, does it come in black? Yes, it needs to be armed. Yes, it needs gadgets, but are there specifics? Apologies for the long email. I love what y'all do, and I respect your opinions even when they're wrong. Thanks to the three of you for encouraging people to like what they like and being the bat lights in our lives. Congrats on your ever-growing bat family, both behind and in front of the mics. I'll hold my last question for next time. Same bat time, same bat channel. Michael Labasco. Thanks, Michael. Awesome. First of all, your pitch for Arkham leading into the next Batman movie, I'm into it.
Sold.
Yeah, heck yeah, I like it. That would be awesome.
I would put the ticket right here if I could.
And thanks for finally writing, and appreciate you listening as long as you have. What makes a Batmobile to you, Jamie?
First and foremost, style. Secondly, and not too distant from that, capability. Being gadgets or power or the ability to crush a cop car or something like that. The style thing. I mean, there's so many variances. You can have the wings, the symbols, just the general personality of it. And listen, I know so many of you are going to disagree with me, and I'm just tired of talking about it and saying it. But this car that's in this movie, for me, has no style and no real personality. And I know so many of you are screaming and throwing stuff for me saying that right now, but that's just how I see it. I would never look at that car out of context of any promotional stills or this movie or anything else and think, yeah, that's a Batmobile. I would never see it as that. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. That's just how I view that car. I don't care for it. So style and capability to me are what make a Batmobile. And each Batmobile that we've had has had varying degrees of that at some point or another. Like, even though I don't necessarily care for the stylistic changes made to the Schumacher Batmobiles, I still recognize them as Batmobiles. They're not my favorites, but I look at them and I'm like, yeah, that's a Batmobile. Yeah. I just don't have that with this car.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, style is my number one. I definitely prefer the Batmobiles that have a more pronounced bat motif, and that usually comes in with fins. Give me some fins. Give me a little bit of bat scallops on those fins. I know there've been 1,000 different Batmobiles over the years, and I know that in defense of this one, a lot of people, including Eric Carter, have posted pictures of the most boring Batmobiles from the comics, going, "See, that it is a Batmobile," and I'm like, yeah, you showing me a boring one from the comics doesn't make this one better. It just shows that at some point there was a boring one in the comics. That doesn't help, because there have been other Batmobiles I haven't liked either. But yeah, for me, it's sleek, stylish, and something that looks like Batman, that looks like an extension of Batman himself. And I think it was Jamie Magoo who said it, and I'm sorry, maybe it was Brian, but I feel like it was on that episode. He's like, it just shouldn't look like a car that anyone could have. It shouldn't look like any other car. It should be unique unto itself. And I liked that. I agree with that. Gadgets are a plus. I think there should be some sort of gadgets, but I don't like it when the gadgets are machine guns, or when they're too ridiculous. There's a nice middle ground of some fun capability in there. And like you said, functionality, speed, I think helps a lot, durability. But yeah, as far as for me, it's sort of the same rule I use with character costumes in movies. Is if you show me a picture of it, am I going to go, oh, that's a Batmobile? That's really what I want. All right, next email is from Jonathan Sweeney from Ireland. He says, hey, don't be stressing out about the critics. Each to their own. We tune in for your opinions. The Batman was great. Pattinson was surprisingly amazing. We do tune in to hear your opinions. I have done since lockdown COVID, so thank you for the last 2 years. 37 Batman novels collections bought since, mostly recommended by you guys. Keep up with the opinions. Don't let others influence you. It would be a boring world if we agreed on everything. Jonathan. Thanks, Jonathan. I love that we inspired you to buy 37 Batman collections. That is awesome.
That's some dedication.
DC owes us a couple dollars.
I'm saying.
Just a couple. Come on, guys. But thank you for that, Jonathan. And you're right. It's a cliche at this point, but that's why they have menus at restaurants. We're not all going to agree on everything. All right. Next message is from Austin. It says, "Hey, Andy and the gang. I'm new to the podcast. It's awesome. I'm listening to all the episodes and I'm on episode 26. It's where you were talking about Batman films that were never made and you mentioned a Batman Beyond movie. I had a cool thought that probably won't happen, but since Michael Keaton is an older Batman, what if he served as a mentor to Terry and Barbara? Do you think that'd be a good idea to bring Terry into the movies? I love the podcast. Keep up the good work. Austin." Thanks, Austin. What do you think, Jamie?
Listen, I know Terry and Batman Beyond have their fans out there. You know, me and Brendan's opinions of the show are well documented at this point. I don't want Terry and Batgirl both involved, at least not like right away, because I think that just takes away from her. And I love Batgirl so much. I think she just deserves her own time in the spotlight. I think having Batman in there with her is potentially enough of a distraction without throwing, you know, Batman Beyond in there with it. And Terry's not my favorite anyway, so I don't need it. If they did it, I would still watch it, but it's not what I'm looking for.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be fine with it, but I do think I've seen a lot of people go, "Oh, you know, Michael Keaton is now a good age to be that Bruce Wayne with a Terry." But for me, I'm like, I just don't want to jump over Dick Grayson or Tim Drake and just and to Terry McGinnis. You know, I feel like you could do something similar with those characters, and I'd like to see that before I would like to see Terry McGinnis. Next message is from our pal Carrie Vanderberg. It says, "Hey, Bat Chums. I think I have an unpopular opinion, but about my favorite Batman actor. For me, it's Christian Bale. I get the feeling it's an unpopular opinion because so many fell in love with Ben Affleck or have Keaton as their favorite because of nostalgia. Don't get me wrong, I grew up with Keaton's Batman and I loved every minute with Ben Affleck, but Bale is my favorite for the following reasons. He first captured the balance between public Bruce Wayne, private Bruce, and Batman in the suit. Keaton was a great Batman, but as I've gotten older, I found his Bruce lacking. Kilmer was a great Bruce Wayne, but his Batman wasn't intimidating. And Clooney, well, it could have been good. Unlike the rest of the Batman actors, Bale's Batman got to have a complete self-contained story. We see the progression of the character over the course of 3 films, and Bale's trilogy covers so much ground in terms of the Batman mythology, like villains, supporting characters, origins, vehicles, etc. It's easily the most comprehensive telling of Batman. If only it had included Robin, then it might be more definitive, but right now Bale's trilogy is as close to definitive as we can get. That's the criteria I've used to determine my favorite actor, and what would be yours? Obviously, everyone's favorite is subjective, but I find it's important for me to have measurable criteria to determine which one I think is the best. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and why is Bale not higher on people's lists? All the best, Carrie. Carrie, thanks so much, and first of all, it's really hard to disagree with that. I mean, it is subjective, but I don't know if Bale is an unpopular choice. I just feel like it's more that trilogy is in a weird place where like it's not old enough to be nostalgic, but it's too old to be new and exciting. And so he's fallen into a little bit of a little gray zone for a little bit, but give it a little time. And I think that is going to change because I do think most people think Bale was great on all fronts. Jamie, don't you think?
Oh, certainly. I mean, he's one of my favorite, if not my absolute favorite living actor. I mean, he's fantastic. I think he had leaps and bounds in front of everybody else, the best Bruce. I love Affleck too. I mean, I'm a fan. I've liked Affleck since Mallrats. So, I mean, don't at me with this, but the suit and the intimidating, shadow that he cast as Batman, I think is the best that we've ever seen in live action to this point. But as far as, like the whole package, I think I agree with Carrie. I think Christian Bale gave the best all around of every aspect that we've seen so far. And Pattinson has the opportunity now to step into that league or even above it. But until we see what comes next, then it's impossible to say. But for me right now, certainly Christian Bale is my favorite overall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I think that's fair. As far as criteria, I mean, for me, it really is just about the performance itself. And you're right. There are multiple facets to who Batman should be on film. I think the way you spell it out makes sense, is public Bruce Wayne, private Bruce Wayne, and then Batman. I think that and that's what I think, that Bale checks all those boxes because he really does get to hit all of those in his trilogy. Keaton is my sentimental favorite, but I feel like we didn't get enough of the public Bruce Wayne in those two films. We get a little bit of it, we get a taste of it, and when we do get it, it's really good, but there's not enough of it. That wasn't a focus, and I always thought that was a weakness of those films. But as far as hitting those three boxes, I do think Bale probably does it the best. Because Affleck, again, the version they were going for was an older, disgruntled, Bruce Wayne in a Batman who's lost his way. And so, it was just a different take. And so it's not necessarily all the same boxes. But I said, when we watched the Batman, I was like, listen, y'all, I love Adam West. I love Michael Keaton. I love Christian Bale. I love Ben Affleck. And I think Pattinson was great. So I'm really happy with a lot of our live action Batman. Favorite to me is kind of splitting hairs. And that's all right.
I mean, that's kind of what I was going to end that by saying. I mean, this might be an unpopular opinion, and I know there won't be a lot of people that would agree, but I don't think we've had a bad actor play Batman yet.
No, I agree with
Keaton's great. Kilmer, I mean, say what you will about the choices made or whatever. Kilmer's an excellent actor. Clooney is an excellent actor. Bale's an excellent actor. Affleck is great and certainly physically intimidating in the part. And now Pattinson was great as Batman too. I mean, where's there a misstep here?
Yeah.
Other than maybe a few choices that we didn't care for along the way. But as far as the actors themselves, I think we've been truly blessed in every aspect in that department.
Yeah, for sure. All right, next message is from our pal Tim Rooney. It says, "Hey, Holy BatCasters. In the words of corporate talk, I hope this email finds you well. I wanted to weigh in on the Batman's runtime and why some might feel its length when watching the movie. The movie spends 90 to 95% of its runtime with Batman, from his subjective point of view, and rarely do we step out from that. That's why it might feel slow at times, since we don't usually see anyone else's perspective. Something to relieve us from Bruce's worldview. I think of the expression, 'How can I miss you if you don't go away?' I'm reminded of a commentary track from John Sturgis. He helmed The Magnificent Seven and The Great Escape, and he loved Back at the Ranch storytelling, where you follow a plot line as far as it can go, but then cut to something else as soon as the first plot line had run its course. That's why something like The Empire Strikes Back has a breezy pace, because the movie constantly cuts back and forth between the heroes and villains. The same thing with The Silence of the Lambs. That might be why the Batman feels long. Anyway, enough of my rambling. Take care of yourselves. I'll talk to you soon. Tim Rooney." Thanks, Tim Rooney. All right, that's an interesting perspective, and I can see that. That makes sense to me.
No, I think he might be onto something there. I don't know that I ever would have put that together for myself, but Tim sees a lot of things from a filmmaking point of view that I do not. So I love listening to his opinions on stuff, and I think that might be a valid point. And I'm going to be looking maybe for that when it shows up on HBO Max in a couple of weeks and I watch it again. I think maybe I'll watch it from that perspective and see if that might be what it is that's throwing me off.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, and I also think that it just has to do with the length of the scenes. Matt Reeves really lets the scenes play out in real time, which is a choice. And I don't dislike that choice, because I do feel like I'm then living it along with Batman. But I think that can also make the movie feel longer too.
Mm-hmm. And again, I want to reiterate, I'm never bored watching the movie. There's just points where I'm ready for something else to happen.
Yeah. All right, next one's from Chris, the Objective Geek again. He says, "Hey guys, while watching The Batman, did you ever suspect that the mastermind behind the Riddler's killings was mayoral candidate Bella Real? What are your thoughts if they went that route and have her killing off corrupt politicians and mobs so she could rebuild Gotham? The movie, of course, would change, but I'd imagine Batman would piece all the subtle clues he previously overlooked to figure out the real threat. After all, as Batman stated in Identity Crisis, the person who has the most to gain is usually the cause behind a mystery. And then have the Riddler somehow assemble all of Gotham's remaining influential figures into one spot, maybe a safe zone from a flood, and then Batman has to stop them from being killed. Somehow keep the final uplifting moments of the film. I'm not sure I like this change more, but it's just a thought. Anyway, sorry for the essay. Keep up the great work, Chris. Thanks, Chris. Jamie, what do you think?
I think that's an interesting perspective, and I could have gone along with it and probably been quite entertained by it. However, when they portray Gotham as this filthy, dirty, ultimately almost completely corrupt place, you have to have those idealists like Gordon, Batman. And in the case of the movie, we got the mayoral elect candidate. You have to have the people that truly do want to elevate themselves up to make it a better place. Otherwise, I feel myself being dragged down into the darkness. And even though I have a palate for that darker style and that more serious style, I need something to help lift me back up out of it. And if you have just one more corrupt politician that you're kind of cheering for the whole time because she's the crusader to clean things up, if you have her fall down that rabbit hole too, I don't know. I don't think it would have sat quite right with me overall.
Yeah. To me, this is kind of like a fun fan theory, but I don't think it's the intent. But it's sort of like, oh, it's a different way to look at it if you want to. So that's how I see it. All right, next message is from Kendrick McMillan. It says, "Hey, Bat Brethren. Before writing this email, I was listening to episode 336. Then I had to pause it and send a message. I've got to say, I didn't like the Batman. Like Jamie, nothing in the trailers made me want to watch the film. Unlike you, I didn't like the film after viewing it. I'm saying this because, even though I didn't feel the same way you guys did, I still respect your opinions. If these a-holes don't like your opinions, then F them. Don't let any piece of shit make you feel bad about having an opinion on a film. You guys have never disrespected anyone, and it's totally uncalled for. If these a-holes don't like it, I suggest they unsubscribe. I can't stand bullies. As a fan of this show, tell them Kendrick said, you're not welcome here, so F off. P.S. I'm going to go finish listening to the episode, and I look forward to many more." All right. Thanks, Kendrick. Okay. Anybody who doesn't like our review of the Batman and are still mad at us, go talk to Kendrick for us. Kendrick's got some words for you.
I like Kendrick.
Yeah, but I certainly appreciate that. That means a lot to me. Thanks, Kendrick. That's great.
And there are people out there that have expressed they don't like the movie, and you know what? Well, more power to them. But I've seen the kind of backlash we took for saying we liked it, but we didn't love it. I can only imagine the poor bastards who said, "No, I just straight don't like the movie," and what they're putting up with.
Yeah, I mean, after that episode, obviously we got a lot of people who were pissed because they loved the movie and they didn't want to hear anything critical on it. But we also got quite a few who was like, "Yeah, I agree with you guys, but I don't want to say it." Like, that kind of thing.
I listened to, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 other podcasts that did reviews on it, and with the exception of one, everybody else kind of saw the same movie we did, it seemed like.
All
but
right.
that's another point. Again, other people's opinions don't validate or nullify mine. I just thought I'd say that out loud.
Okay. All right, next message from Will Byler. It says, "Hey guys, I hope this email finds you awash in positivity and support. I'm just catching up on last week's episode, and my heart sank when I heard Andy mention the ugly and brutish behavior exhibited by our fellow BatCast fam. I love your show so much. It's truly a highlight of every week, and I specifically tune in to hear other voices and opinions that differ from my own. Thank you for all the hard work, care, and adoration that you put into each episode. I also applaud you for speaking out in the first place. Addressing it head on is a very Batman thing to do. No need to respond. I just wanted to pass along some gratitude. Best, Will." Thank you, Will. Appreciate that. And, a lot of these say, "Oh, you don't have to read on the show." But I'm like, we're cleaning out the mailbox. I might as well share the kind words. It means, it does mean a lot. And I thank you for that.
Hey, you know what? We got a lot of cool listeners on the show.
We do. Next message is from Dave. It says, "First, I'm sorry you got so much flack because of your view of the Batman. The flaws you pointed out, to me, didn't seem to drown out the positives that you pointed out. I hope you keep doing what you're doing. I love the podcast. I'm sure there are many more of us who appreciate you do than those who are angry about it. Second, and my original intent of the email, is that I know Brendan said he didn't think this version of Batman was likely to have a Robin, and I'd like to hopefully, respectfully disagree. I think this Batman, more than Nolan's, needs a Robin. In Nolan's version, Bruce Wayne learned the value of being a symbol from the League of Shadows, and he had a father figure in Alfred who kept him grounded, and a childhood friend, love interest in Rachel that kept him interested in how his actions were perceived by others. In Reeves' version, Bruce doesn't see Batman as a symbol, only an instrument of vengeance, and Alfred says he could teach him to fight, but he couldn't be a father to him, and he doesn't care how anyone sees Bruce Wayne. At the end of the film, Bruce has realized that Batman has to be something more than vengeance and has to be a symbol, not just of fear for the criminals, but hope for the citizens. At this point, though, who's going to help him get there? Alfred already admitted to shortcomings, and Selina still only knows him as Batman and doesn't really care about Bruce Wayne. To my mind, it has to be Dick Grayson. While they may not have a truly father-son dynamic in The Batman 2, a younger brother mentee could still do that, and Dick would care more about Bruce than Batman. Of course, they'll have a falling out eventually when Dick can't convince Bruce to be Bruce first and not Batman, but he will have made some progress. Then, when Batman is a little older, Tim comes in, just skipping Jason, and can be more of a son, and he'll learn more fully. I never came away from any of the Nolan trilogy thinking this Batman needs a Bat family, and always felt that Bruce had a family, even if he pushed them away at times. While I don't mind John Blake and Rises as much as some, Blake is more of someone to pass the legacy onto than family, and I think that was fine, and all Bale's Bruce needed. Someone to prove that Batman could be anyone. Pattinson's Bruce, he needs someone to remind him what it means to exist outside the cowl. He needs Dick.
Don't we all?
There you go. I'll end my email on that sentence. Dave Gingo. Thanks, Dave. And yeah, listen, you sold me, but I didn't need to be sold. I was already on board. I think you could do it. But I love the idea of Dick Grayson being that extra family member in addition to Alfred, to show Bruce what his actions mean, not just as Batman, but as Bruce. You know, he certainly has seen it, and he has shown empathy for the mayor's son. And so to take that and put that towards Dick Grayson, I think could definitely work in this franchise. So I hope you're right. I hope that's where it goes.
Yeah, I mean, this characterization that we've seen so far, he does seem like a darker, more loner type of a person. He's kind of even standoffish with Alfred at moments up to a certain point in the film. So yes, having Robin thrown into this mix, I believe, probably could work depending on how they decide they want to present it.
Yeah. All right, next message is from Julian Weaver. It says, "Greeting, Bat Bros. Apparently, the last time I wrote in was 2019. It seems like a lifetime ago. First, I wanted to say congratulations to Andy on baby Harley. Sleep deprivation sucks, but sometimes that little smile or giggle can be just enough to make it worth it. A proud bat dad moment I had with my youngest happened within 24 hours of his birth. The hospital room happened to have a VCR, and after learning this, I brought my Batman 89 VHS and my Ninja Turtles VHS to watch. I tested the waters with TMNT, and the little guy slept the whole time, but when I put on Batman, the little man was awake and glued to the screen the entire time. He didn't even fuss. It was such a cool moment I wanted to share. Secondly, I wanted to say thanks as well as share some art. It's been really encouraging hearing varying opinions about the Batman. I shared my thoughts on your Instagram. I still need to see it a second time, but I want to say thank you to all of you for being awesome, but also for sharing your thoughts and not backing down in the face of criticism. I wanted to share some art with you guys. It's my take on where I think the costume could go for this series of films if they went with the blue and gray. But it's also an exercise on taking elements from the 66 Batsuit and the 70s era Batsuit and making them more cinematic. Please enjoy and share your honest opinions. I'm curious if it scratches your itch for improving the look of this Batman and if it's a worthy interpretation of the blue and gray suit with the yellow oval. All the best, Julian Weaver." All right, Julian. So Julian did some artwork here, and it's really cool, actually. It's very much... It does. It feels like a very natural evolution of the suit that we saw in the Batman. I'll say I prefer your first version, Julian, that has some yellow in there. But it is a more muted yellow, so I think that's a nice touch. And I guess it's blue. It's very grayish, but with just a hint of blue. But I think that's honestly, I would take that. I'd be fine with that. But yeah, I think it's really cool. I'm gonna share this with with Jamie and Brendan as well, so they can check it out. But super cool. I'll even share it on the page if you're okay with that, Julian. But yeah, I really like it.
Sounds intriguing.
And I'm glad your son loved some Batman 89. Like I said, I think some of the first things.
Sleeping during Turtles, though? Come on now. I mean, listen, we're all here for the purpose of Batman. We're aware, but Turtles?
I mean,
that the live action 1990 movie, I don't care what anybody says. That thing's holding up beautifully.
Oh, it's great. Yep. All right, let's move forward. Next message is from Seymour Balls.
That's a Manscaped client if I've ever heard one.
Yeah. Or, I mean, that's his email. So I wonder if that's really it. It says, hey guys, it's silent listener Seymour Balls from Down Under. Even though I know you're not big fans of the Batman, I'm with my fellow Aussie Batcaster that when we go to see these movies that are from our favorite franchises, our expectations are so high that it's easy to be underwhelmed. We follow each step of the filmmaking process and we're a bit too invested in it in a way where we're setting ourselves up for disappointment. We shouldn't leave the cinema feeling down if we don't like a movie. We should like the general public. We should be like the general public and just go on with our day. But we can't. We're fanatics and this is our passion. I do agree with Big Brendan that I always walk out thinking I need to see it again, but can relax more and take the movie in for what it is the second time around. Thanks for the great content. I hope you've managed to enjoy the movie more now that you've seen it again. Seymour. Thanks, Seymour. And, I'm sure Brendan will listen and he will appreciate the shout out. And, and I even said that when I went again, there's something to be said for being freed of the burden of your initial expectations. And then you go again and you can just sort of absorb it as it is without that. And like I said, I liked the Batman even more the second time. And I certainly look forward to revisiting it again. So points taken.
Yeah. I mean, I walked out of BVS pretty severely disappointed. And then I went back and saw it the second time, taking out those massive, unattainable expectations that I had and took it for what it was. And I settled down with it. And then by the third time I saw it and really had my head around it, I was in love with the film. So, yeah, I totally understand that.
Yep.
And I also want to point out that I'm just over here smiling with glee that you read the words out loud, Seymour Balls from Down Under. That's amazing.
Perfect. All right, next one's from Mark Bickford. It says, hey guys, first I keep forgetting to congratulate Brendan. I heard on Peacemaker that he had gotten a new gig on Riverdale, and I think that's awesome. I hope it goes great, and also would he be willing to put in a good word for me with Lily Reinhart? Note, I'm referring to the post-credit scene where Peacemaker was rattling off everyone who could have been framed for him instead of his father, and he includes those cunts from Riverdale. Wow, that's a deep pull. I didn't even know where you were going with this, but there you go. He said, I'd also like to second the suggestion by a recent writer that you take a show to discuss the story treatment for Justice League 2 and 3 that was displayed in Dallas. I know there was at least one element in there that no one liked, and it was already eliminated, the Bruce Lois baby. But there's still an awesome story there that I'd love to hear you dig into. Also, are you ever going to do a show on seasons 2 and 3 of Batwoman? To be honest, I really only care about hearing you discuss season 2 that brought in Stephanie Brown, but I don't think you've really brought it up since season 1. Finally, I heard with dismay what you said about the abuse you got for your thoughts on the Batman. Honestly, if had someone told me 7 or 8 years ago that I would look forward to spending a couple of hours every week listening to a car salesman, a guy who spends his life upside down, and a Florida man, I would have thought they were nuts. But I do look forward to it, so here we are. You have my support. Best regards, Mark. Thanks, Mark. It is weird that after 8 years, people just feel like they know us, like we've known each other that long, which is awesome. Another note on the Justice League plans that we learned about in Dallas. I'll keep that in mind. And then honestly, I watched the first half of season 2 of Batwoman, and then I lost track of it, and I have not gone back. So that's why. I liked season 1 well enough to watch season 2, and then I think I was halfway through season 2 when I moved back to the States, and then I just kept forgetting to go back to it. So I don't even remember if I got to Stephanie Brown, honestly. But so the answer is, are we going to do a show on seasons 2 and 3 of Batwoman? Not anytime soon, not until I catch up. Jamie?
Yeah, I haven't watched even the second half of season. Well, did I finish season 1? I don't even remember now. I don't think I finished season 1 yet. And I don't know that I have any strong desire to. And it's not that I don't love the character or think that it, the aesthetics were good and everything else. It just, I've said it before. I'll say it again. Those CW shows, it's too much involvement. I can't with those anymore. I just can't.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know how excited I was to turn on Moon Knight yesterday and find out there's only 6 episodes of the show.
It's weird that's where we are. We're like, oh, short commitment. I'll tell you what I have been watching. Maybe I'll do a BatCast on it. Pam and Tommy.
Oh?
Yeah. It's pretty damn fun, actually.
I have no interest in either one of those. I've actually met Tommy Lee in person. He's a really cool, outgoing guy. But I don't have any interest in that show.
It's worth watching. I'm not actually going to do a BatCast on it. That was a joke. All right.
I didn't think.
Next one's from Mark. There is a talking penis. Is that spoilers? There is a talking penis. Tommy Lee has a whole conversation with his penis. And it talks. Well, it literally talks.
When something's that big, it probably should be sentient, I suppose. But...
He could be a villain in the next Batman movie.
The trouser snake.
Oh my God, what was that? The Boys? Wasn't that The Boys where the guy had like the really crazy penis? I think it was.
Maybe you're right.
I think it was.
That does sound familiar.
Anyway, sorry. Next one's from Mark Jurasevic. It says, "Hey, Batcasters, I hope all is well. I really enjoyed the Batman review and subsequent discussion episodes. As always, I appreciate the passion and balanced viewpoints presented in your discussions. I enjoyed the Batman immensely, and I share most of your opinions on the film. What I enjoyed most was what you loved about the film. You unabashedly and genuinely loved them. Now, on to a few questions. What are your thoughts on the recently released concept designs for Ben Affleck's version of the Batman that was in development? I've got to admit, I much prefer these to the released movie. In regards to the released movie, there are angles to Batman's suit that work extremely well, and there are others that don't. For me, the biggest sticking point is that collar is so much wider than the neck. Therefore, Batman's neck looks very skinny and separate from the suit, and it lacks the flow from one part to the other. Sorry if that's a nitpick, but I can't seem to ignore it. I read an article about the new series Naomi, which is about a superhero that also runs a fan page for Superman. Apparently, Superman's going to appear, but it won't be Tyler Hoechlin. Why is that we're seeing numerous iterations of Superman on TV, but the executives are shying away from him on the big screen? By the way, Superman and Lois continues to be outstanding. I've given up most of the CW series, except for Stargirl, but this series is top-notch. Take care, Mark." Thanks, Mark. All right. First question, the Ben Affleck Batman concept art. We did talk about it briefly on the last episode with Brendan and Joe. So I already said I really liked it. I thought it looked great. I think I still prefer the BVS suit to this one, but I still thought it was a really cool bat suit. And I agree with you. I like it better than the one in the Batman. Jamie, what'd you think?
I actually haven't seen it, so I don't have anything to offer either way on that.
Okay, well, look it up when you're bored. Okay. And then Naomi, I have not watched Naomi, but that is interesting that there's a Superman tie there. I didn't know that.
I didn't either. I read the first few issues of the book, and it was good, but I haven't gotten into the show at all.
But as for Superman, oh man, that could be its own conversation.
That's a whole episode.
Yeah,
there.
That's a whole ball of wax, but all I'll say is, I hear that Superman and Lois is great. Much like Batwoman, I have not gotten to season 2 of Superman and Lois, even though I loved season 1. I will get to it, but I've heard it's great, and I'm glad it's still good. But as for why Superman on the big screen, man, I'm with all the fans who agree with you. I just there's no excuse to not have an active Superman on the big screen. It's baffling, it's silly, and as for the why, I think the divisive reactions to Man of Steel and BVS are the reasons for it. I don't think those are justified reasons, but I think that is the reason, is because those two movies were very divisive amongst fans and audiences, and they're learning the wrong lessons from it. It doesn't mean that people aren't interested in Superman. It just means that people disagreed on whether or not they liked those movies.
Yeah, I think so. I don't have anything to add to that.
Yeah.
That Superman conversation has been going on for so long, man. It just, I don't know. I'm weary of it now.
Yeah.
But yes, I definitely want more. I do. I like Superman a lot.
Yeah, I agree with you. Next message is from Cam Stewart. It says, quick question. Is The Batman the first Batman movie without a gala or the use of batarangs? And by the way, how's Leroy? He was one of my favorite folks on RF4RM. Thanks, Cam. Well, Leroy is good, but we don't hear from him as much as we used to, which is sad because we all miss him, but he's good. I think it's just...
He got a girlfriend and a dog, and he moved from Seattle to Oregon, and he apparently doesn't have internet in Oregon because he just doesn't stay in touch the way.
Yeah, life gets in the way. I always said like the original RF4RM podcast. I love all those guys. You know, I love Leroy and Roman, and I miss them. But it's like now I understand why bands break up. Because it's not that people don't like each other. It's just like life gets in the way, and life takes different roads, and like it's just sad, and it's sort of like it's everybody's paths sort of diverged, and it's a bummer. But like, yeah, I think the last time I talked to Leroy was Christmas. You know, I just sent him like a little Christmas, hey Chris, happy Christmas. But yeah, I think he's doing great. It just, we just don't hear from him as much as we would like. But Leroy, if you're listening, we love you, we miss you, we hope you're happy.
He's talked about generating another, his sister, as far as I know, still lives in Chicago. He's talking about, maybe doing another meetup, but that's been a couple months since he mentioned it. So
he should come in June. There's a big party in Chicago in June.
It's funny you should say that. I think June was when he said he was going to do it.
All right. Well.
Oh God, wouldn't that be glorious?
There you go. See. Anyway, as for the Batman, yes, no gala and no use of a batarang. I agree.
I mean, we don't know for sure if that thing that comes out of his chest isn't a batarang.
I mean, it kind of sort of is, but like he doesn't throw it.
Yeah, that's true.
So what makes a batarang a batarang?
Did you see the DC shop just released a replica of that?
No.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of into that. I did like that because I think I said like of the gadgets, we didn't get a lot of gadget action in this movie, but when he pulled it off his chest, I was like, oh, damn, that's cool. I didn't know that was going to happen.
I like that better than the idea of that being the guns that were used to kill his parents. Yeah. I mean, that was a clever idea, and that little snippet that was, I think Kevin Smith wrote that, maybe?
A lot of people had that theory when we first saw the suit. I'm sure a lot of people could take credit for that theory when we first saw the suit, but who knows where it started.
The first time I can remember seeing it is there was one of those 80-page giant books that they do like quarterly, and Kevin Smith wrote a story called like The Heart or something like that, and he took the
I loved that. Yeah, that was great.
So anyway.
All right, next message is from Jalen Johnson. It says, "Hey, Holy BatCast crew, I was reading through through Legends of the Dark Knight number 17, which has a cover date of April 1991. There's an image in the book that'll hopefully put a certain debate to rest. I'm including the image with this email. In case it doesn't go through, it's on page 5. Please forward it to Jamie. Keep up the good work. Jalen from Atlanta."
If there's a hanger involved, I ain't even interested.
There ain't just one. There's a whole bunch of hangers with bat suits on them. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, Jamie. Sorry about it.
No, I ain't having it.
Well, tough. All right, next message is from Chris Knowles. It says, "Greetings, citizens of Gotham. I'm sorry to hear on the last couple episodes that you had been receiving abuse via Twitter and email. Internet tribalism is one of the absolute monsters we've unleashed this century, and there's no putting that genie back in the bottle. I get shit off strangers on the internet most days, too. It isn't worth thinking about. There are dickheads everywhere. You shouldn't have to put out disclaimers before an opinion of a movie like you guys did, but here we are. Almost nobody who tweets or emails horrible or hateful things at you would dare say it to you in person. You guys do a great job. It's an awesome podcast. Don't let the haters get you down. I like to think most of the RF or RM and Holy BatCast community are good, kind people. If you lose your faith in social media, please keep your faith in bat people. Love now and always, Chris." Thanks, Chris. Really appreciate it. And yeah, I mean, it's true. The good so outweighs the bad, but I don't know. As
Just
humans,
the bad tend to be louder. That's
yeah,
it.
and as humans, when someone says something nice, you're like, oh, they're just being nice. But when someone says something mean, it's just easier to take it to heart. All right. Oh my gosh, look at this person felt the disturbance in the force. Here we go. It says, hey there, guys. With the Batman currently dominating the conversation involving DC, I'd like to take a step back and talk about Peacemaker, at least the finale. When the Justice League appears after the conclusion of the battle with the butterflies, we were treated to a familiar sight. This is a spoiler, guys, but I feel like it's safe now. It's been, at least a month.
Yeah.
Superman, but without his recognizable face. Since this first happened in Shazam, it seemed that was the result of either Warner Brothers doing everything in their power to separate themselves from Zack Snyder's controversial take on the Man of Steel, or Henry Cavill, trying to use this cameo to get a pay raise. But recently, in an interview promoting his second season of The Witcher, Cavill stated that there was a clause in his contract with Netflix that states they own his facial likeness, which explains why he's only appeared in Netflix productions over the last few years. This could possibly be the reason for no movement on a Man of Steel sequel, but still stating that this version of Superman is still in the universe. Sorry for the long message. Take care. Jalen. Thanks, Jalen. I have a hard time believing Netflix could do that.
I want to say... I'm not going to say it's not true because I don't know everything about entertainment contracts and all that other stuff, but something tells me his lawyer and or his agent had to have been smart enough to catch that and go, this ain't going to fly.
Because then otherwise he wouldn't fly.
I see what you did there. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not saying that's not true, but I am a little skeptical of that, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, me too. That sounds like he was joking. You know, it sounds like someone would say, hey, you're doing The Witcher, you did Enola Holmes, what's with all the Netflix? And he could have joked, oh, Netflix owns my likeness now. So I just, that deal doesn't sound right to me.
No.
All right, next message is from Ricky Manium. It says, hey guys, I'm a big fan of the pod. I was wondering if there's a certain villain that you'd like to see in the sequel to The Batman. Enjoying the podcast. Keep up the good work. It's awesome to listen to you guys talk. Thanks, Ricky. We kind of answered this, but yeah, like clean slate. Jamie, who do you want in the sequel?
Let me think of something different right quick. The Reaper. That's a grounded, realistic villain that could actually happen, and I've never seen it. The Reaper.
Okay, that's fine. I'll say, I mean, and seriously, because I do think that he could still fit in Matt Reeves' world, Scarecrow. Because he's still really cool. I still think you could do him, and I think because of
it's a chemical thing versus a superpower thing.
Exactly,
So, yeah,
right? Like the gas
opens.
isn't too big of a stretch, and then with the gas, then you could do more like hallucinogenic or cool, trippy stuff. All right, this next message kind of goes hand in hand. This is from Imad Ali Guz. It says, hey guys, if you were Matt Reeves, how would you depict the following villains in a grounded way, but still being faithful? Mr. Freeze, Clayface, the Mad Hatter, Poison Ivy, Killer Croc. I guess Batmite and Man-Bat aren't an option. You're awesome. You're great. I love listening every week. Keep going. Thanks, Imad. Always good to hear from you. This also feels like it could be a long answer or its own episode. But it's tricky. Like, I don't want to make things more grounded.
I get it. I mean, I already said my piece about Clayface. I don't think Reeves can do it without actually entering the superpowers. Go ahead and copy and paste everything I said there over to Poison Ivy too. I don't see any feasible way, and maybe he's smart enough to figure it out, and I'm just going to go, oh, okay, I didn't think of that if it happens.
Yeah.
But in my mind right now, seeing his sensibilities and what I know of these characters, neither Poison Ivy nor Clayface work here. Freeze, it's scientific. You can make a gun that freezes people.
Yeah.
What was the other one? Mad Hatter?
Mad Hatter.
You can develop a mind control device in an electronic piece and make that, quote, believable. I mean, that's not a superpower thing. So I don't see any real necessary variances with Freeze or Mad Hatter in either case to make those work in the world that he's already established.
Yeah. I feel like real quick, like Mr. Freeze, he certainly has science that he could use to freeze whatever he wants without a freeze gun and a helmet. You know, like there are ways to do it that's a little more restrained, but he still could do that. Clayface, I feel like what I keep coming back to, and I feel like there is a version of Clayface like this where it's literally just his face that is clay. And so his whole body isn't this huge clay monster, but his face he can change. And I'm not talking about like masks, you know, like Mission Impossible. Like his face literally is malleable, and so he can use that to change. Mad Hatter, I would do what they did in Gotham. I thought Gotham's version of Mad Hatter was great, which is hypnosis. He's a very talented hypnotist, and that's how he gets control over people. Poison Ivy, much like Mr. Freeze, I think instead of her like controlling these monstrous vines everywhere, she still has the science where she can plant seeds where she wants and wreak havoc that way. So like an eco-terrorist, but she could still do that, but it's again not the big vine that she's riding on and stuff like that. And then Killer Croc, we've seen versions of this in the past where it's just a bad skin condition, but he's still like a big hulking wrestler type. And I think you do it that way.
Yeah, I even feel like the Killer Croc, similar to what we got in 2016, would work well enough in Reeves' universe.
It's not that far. I think you just pull it back a tiny bit and it still could fit pretty easily. All right, next message is from our pal Jeremy Lloyd. It says, "Hey Bat fans, it's been a long time since I've written in. I'm still around, even if I haven't been as active in discussions around DC, but it's been my choice to step back for a lot of it. That being said, we've got a new Batman and a new Batman movie, so I want to give my 2 cents. I enjoyed the film. Can't say I loved it, but I do think it did some things that haven't been done before. Like the inner monologue of Batman. I mean, how long has it taken to get that? I think that alone gave this movie a whole different flavor from what we've seen before. I am a fan of the Batmobile, but I have been since it was released in photos. I see why it doesn't work for some, but for me, I like the straight-up muscle car of it, and I do think it will evolve. Aesthetically, I liked most things in the movie except for the Riddler, which I can't get behind, but Dano is otherwise incredible in the role. I think the movie does walk a fine line, and I do think there are aspects that suggest a very grounded Batman world, but at the same time, it has some things visually about the world that give me hope that it can tap into the more fantastical elements of Batman's world. Overall, this version really reminded me of the world of the Arkham games, which I, for one, am on board for. Should Batman be grounded in reality or dark and gritty, or should it be fantastical? Well, I look at the version of Batman that we all agree is one of the best, Batman the Animated Series, as proof that you can have both, and that formula seems to work just fine. Your friend and Bat fan, Jeremy." All right. Thanks, Jeremy. I think all that is very fair. Very fair takes overall.
So, Jeremy, you like that car. I know you're a car show guy. You've got that beautiful blue classic Mustang. If you went to a car show and saw this Batmobile there, would that win a ribbon of any kind, or would anybody do anything but walk by it and laugh at it? Okay, enough said.
I mean, I will say this is like, here's what I appreciate about that is like Jeremy goes, yeah, I love the car. I love that it's a muscle car, but I understand why some fans don't like it. That's all that matters, right? Like, and I've said that for years about BVS. I love BVS. I love it. Do I understand the fans who don't? Yes, I do. I've seen the movie. I get why there are things in that movie that some fans are like, no, I don't like it. I get it. That's fine.
I totally get it.
And that's totally fine, right? So same thing with the Batman. And I think there's nothing wrong with that.
It's like the Dark Knight Returns. It's become really popular for people to come out and say how much they dislike it because of the way it altered the character and perceptions and changed Batman for the last 30 years and all that other stuff. I mean, these people are crazy, but I understand why they say what they say.
Yep.
Same thing. I mean, it's just people like what they like and variances happen.
Yeah. All right, next message is from Ryan Fluger. It says, on the last episode, you were asked, who from the Burtonverse would you like to see come back? When I heard this, I was like, oh, please say Mr. Freeze, and it didn't even get a mention. So as a child of the 80s, can you reflect on if Arnold could come back and play an older, distant Victor? Thanks, Ryan. Well, the reason we didn't mention Mr. Freeze is because we were focusing on the two Burton films. Because the Schumacher films, are kind of in the same universe, but kind of not. And that's why even when we did say Jim Carrey's Riddler, we were like, I don't know if it counts because it's not a Burton thing. It's a Schumacher thing. And that's the only reason I think we didn't bring up Mr. Freeze, is because we were trying to stick to really Burton's two films. That said, Arnold coming back as an older, distant Victor and a less campy Victor. Yeah, much like I would love to see Jim Carrey get another crack at the Riddler, I think Arnold could come back and do the same with Mr. Freeze. I think it's a great idea. It just, yeah, there was a reason we didn't mention it, though. Jamie, what do you think about?
That's what we need out of the Flash movie. We need Keaton dealing with the Arkham octogenarians.
Right.
And just bring them all back.
I mean, that would be kind of fun. If I'm being honest.
I'd watch the shit out of
like
that.
Old Jack Nicholson back as the Joker, old
Yes.
Danny DeVito back as the Penguin.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'd watch that.
Dude, hang on.
Oh. Was that a wallet? Or are you gone?
No, that was my wallet.
Okay, good.
It hit the mute button as it went over there. It was yeah. Anyway, yeah, I'm all kinds of into that.
All right.
And you know what? Arnold, in the last a few years, his political career aside, he's really turned in some pretty solid acting performances, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I'm down for the idea. Again, we were just focused on the Burton stuff. And it's not a Burton thing. All right, next one is from my old pal, Muhammad Adil Jaffer.
Did you get it right this time?
No, I'm just saying it as differently as I can because maybe that's better. Because I don't know how else to do it. He says, hey guys.
Please understand he does this because he likes being a smart ass. It's not because he's actually making fun of you. Please understand that.
He says, I hope you're doing well. I shall send my thoughts on the Batman at a later date. Andy, you don't need to worry about pronouncing my name wrong. Too late. I worry about it every time. Every time. I get a little sweat, a little anxiety attack every time I get an email from you, Mohammed. He says, I actually enjoy it when people try to pronounce it, so give it your best shot. And shout out to Paul for the beautiful message on the last episode. He explained in a way that encapsulated all my feelings, plus more regarding the unfortunate situation. Now to give some context, I put on some podcasts at times when I have trouble falling asleep, and on this particular occasion, I played an episode of Holy BatCast, which helped me sleep. Okay, I'll take it as a compliment. Says, now comes the bizarre part. While I was sleeping, I had a dream of me sleeping in my bed, listening to Holy BatCast, but the hosts were all different. In fact, it was your children who were hosting. Don't ask me how I know. Dream logic doesn't make sense. And it was the 2000th episode of the show. I snapped awake from my weird dream at that point, but the experience was so bizarre and funny that I had to share. Lately, I've been getting more involved in fandom, and I'm surprisingly enjoying the various dramas which are always happening on the forums. Previously, I used to get tired of reading it, but now I view it as garbage TV entertainment, and it's pretty fun to watch. Granted, this was low drama and not the toxic stuff that is always present in DC fandom. Well, I'll end my email on that note and leave you all the more confused as before. Anyway, looking forward to new episodes. Love, Muhammad Adil Jaffer.
Good news, kid. Your career path has been plotted out. You're going to be hosting Holy BatCast Beyond.
I know, right? Oh my God. All three of your kids. We'll have a Harley and a Quinn.
Girls, cancel your college applications. I got a proposition for you.
Yeah. All the manscaping products you could use. That is so funny. A dream of our kids carrying on the show to episode 2000. Wow.
I like it.
I hope. Yeah.
We should be so lucky.
If Harley gets old enough and doesn't like Batman, I don't know what I'm going to do.
I mean, you got a daughter named Harley. I've got a daughter named Quinn. I mean, it's kind of in line.
That's what I just said. I said we'll have a Harley and a Quinn.
Yeah.
We'll have both.
Oh.
All right. Thanks, Muhammad. Next message is from Michael. It says, "Hey guys, do you think it might be better to start a Batman movie series with Robin already part of it, rather than introducing him later and trying to justify Batman taking a child in? I wonder if fewer people would question the weirdness if that's what they're shown right from the jump." Thanks, Michael. I think that's certainly a way to get around it, is you just walk in and it's already Batman and Robin. and you don't have to worry about that. I think that's a way to do it. I still think you could do the origin in a way that's acceptable, but this could be a shortcut. And at this point, yeah, like, don't just freaking give me Robin. I don't even care how you do it.
We've seen enough of the before and after, get the Batman in his prime with Robin already established. And look, you can do it you can do like a Robin, second year Robin thing, like what you did with the Batman here recently.
Yeah.
And that you can mention what happened and not even have to show it. And just that little bit of exposition is enough. And I think you can just roll from there.
And it happened between movies.
I think that works.
Yep, I agree. All right, next message is from Alec Chapman. It says, hey guys, sorry if this email gets a little long. I want to talk about two things. First thing is last time when I wrote, I didn't realize that my account listed my name as Alec Metallic. It must have been something I put in when I was a kid. Secondly, I'm a little confused about the relationship between Catwoman and Falcone in The Batman. When Catwoman is explaining how Falcone is her father, she says, I never understood why he looked at me the way he did, not until my mother told me the truth. But later, when she's hunting him down, she says, hey, Dad, I'm Maria Kyle's daughter. So did Falcone know or not? I watched the movie 4 times, and I still don't get it. Best of luck, Alec. Thanks, Alec. No worries on the old the old email name. It's funny, the things that we had the first time we create an email. I thought I honestly felt like he always knew. Yeah, right? Like, the interactions always imply that he knew. Because even when they have that, like where they finally have the confrontation at the end, she says something about like, oh, like you did to my mother or something like that. But like, it was implied that he already knew who that mother was. That's how I remember it. Again, I only seen it twice, so I don't know it by heart, but yeah, I didn't find any inconsistency with, no, she didn't know until later that he was her father, but he always knew she was his daughter. That's the way I remember it. Jamie?
Yeah, I'm going to have to defer to you on this because I'm far enough removed from it that I can't place specific dialogue or details to decipher it in a proper manner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Another thing for me to look out for when it comes to HBO Max.
I'll say this much. I don't remember having any confusion as I was watching the movie.
Yeah, me either. Yeah, exactly. So, like if there was an inconsistency, I feel like I would remember it. All right. I'll guess one last email. Oh,
we down to the last one already?
Oh my! What do you mean already? It's been over 2 hours.
There's still daylight outside.
Yeah, it's true. Barely, but yeah. All right. One last one here. This is from Slam Dannon. It's another cool name. Sounds like a
comic book name if I've ever heard.
It sounds like a PI.
Or somebody that likes to eat a lot of yogurt. No good? All right, cool.
I'll take it. That's fine. That works. Okay, it says, I loved your episode ranking the Batmobile chases, but I've got to know, what are your opinions on the Batmobile from Arkham Knight? Based on the visual, since I know you haven't played the games. To me, it's a slightly more fantastical version of the Tumbler and a better version of Batfleck's Batmobile, mostly because it's slightly more compact, not as wide or squished. And it doesn't have the stupid big gun on the nose. I really dig it. I need to know, otherwise I'll slam my foot into a working blender. Has anyone mentioned that the Arkham games are effing incredible? Also, a future episode idea, play best scene, worst scene with every Batman movie. Oh, I like that idea. That's fun. Thanks, Slam, if that's your name. Do you know the Arkham Knight Batmobile, Jamie?
I'm looking at it right now.
Okay. And what do you think?
I think it bears a lot of similarity to the BVS Batmobile.
Okay. All right. You like it?
It has that heavily armored look, but it just has that style. Like, here's one where it almost looks like the canopy's wearing like a bat cowl over the top of it. It's a 3D model. Yeah, it's more tankish than carish, but it kind of has that vicious, intimidating look. No, I dig it well enough.
Yeah, I've never been a huge fan because it looks, to me, it always looked more tumblery. And I like it fine, but yeah, it's never been one of my favorites. I'm sorry if it says right here you loved it, so I'm glad you loved it. But to me, it always looks like a Tumbler crossed with like a dune buggy, and it's okay. It's not my favorite. It's just like you said, it's a little more tankish, and I like when I said I like style, but I also like sleek. To me, this is not sleek.
It's got fins on it though.
It does have fins. I'll give it that, and I like that. And it doesn't look like a car you could, go steal out of the Target parking lot.
The Target parking lot.
So
I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
I don't know that I'd rank it my favorites immediately or anything, but I dig it.
Yeah, it's not bad. All right, thank you, Slam, and thank you to everybody who wrote in, and thank you for your patience if it's taken just forever to finally get to your email. We appreciate that, but we finally did it. Oh my God, I feel so good now. Wow. But time to wrap this baby up. Like I said at the beginning, if you're following along and you want to join the party, next time I'm going to finally publish that episode where me and Jamie look back 40 years on Wes Craven's Swamp Thing. Last we looked, it was $4.99 on iTunes. You can't beat that. I also have a really good collector's Blu-ray of that movie. So yeah, watch Swamp Thing from 1982 before the next episode. But this episode was lots of Batman talk. And that's part of the fun of the Wayne Manor Mailbox, is we get to talk a little bit about every aspect of Batman all at once. We also get to field some curveballs along the way. We never know what you guys are going to write. So if you've got something for the Wayne Manor Mailbox, you can send that to Holy BatCast at rf4rm.com. And we won't get to it next time because the next thing is Swamp Thing, but hopefully we'll get to it the episode after that. But Jamie, thanks for jumping on this little impromptu episode. I feel so productive. It's like that feeling when you clean out the DVR or like when you read your stack of comic books. That's how I feel right now, where I'm like, oh,
accomplished.
I feel free. Yeah. Yes. But good to have you.
Yeah, it was good to be here. Now I'm going to go on vacation.
Good. Have a great trip, my friend.
I'm really hoping to.
I hope so too.
A lot of fried chicken and biscuits and gravy and all that really healthy Southern cuisine.
Perfect. Where are you going again?
Savannah, Georgia.
I love Savannah.
A brief stop off in Charleston to visit the aircraft carrier for my son. And then we're going to spend the rest of the week in Myrtle Beach.
Wonderful. Please do a ghost tour in Savannah.
Should we do the riding or the walking?
I did the riding, and it was super fun. We rode in a hearse.
Oh, we saw that one on one of the videos we watched the other day.
Yeah, that was great. The one I did. It was really fun.
Tight.
Yeah. Anyway, tell our friends where they can find you.
I'm on the tweets at BatRaider3960 and generally floating around most of the Real Fans groups on Facebook.
Awesome. There you go. Well, thank you guys. I already told you where to follow me, but thank you for joining us and thank you for downloading the show. Please do subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. Go to holybatcast.com or find Holy BatCast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube. If you've got something for the Wayne Manor Mailbox, that email address again is holybatcast@rf4rm.com. Our theme music was created by the very talented Gaurav Venkateshwar. Hey, it only took me like 2 years to say his name right, so Muhammad, maybe someday. His work can be found at gvtunes.com. If you love the show, you want to support us, not only is there Patreon, but you can also go to manscaped.com and use that promo code BATSCAPED. It's the great way to help us out. We would certainly appreciate that. That'll do it. On behalf of Jamie, I've been Andy. We'll see you next time. Same bat time, same bat channel. Holy BatCast is not affiliated with Warner Brothers or DC Entertainment. The views and opinions shared by the participants are theirs and theirs alone and do not represent the companies or organizations they happen to work for. All right, moving forward. Next one's from Jonathan Sweetney.
Wait, time out.
No,
bathroom break.
Oh, okay. Fine, you take a bathroom break. Catherine's vacuuming.